What is up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of AoS Trash Pandas. I'm your host, Rob, and with me, as usual, is the star that everyone wants to see. We did not
That's
talk
not
about.
true.
We did not. We did not talk about
The
doing
co-host.
this. That's true. You are my co-host. That's true. That's true. I saw Dale's comment
Listen,
last week.
We riff off each other. Okay. Which one? Sorry.
I saw Dale's comment last week when I went to post this in one of the Discords that we should change the name to Saga of Carson. So we didn't talk about any of that stuff beforehand. But then, yeah, I just started riffing because I didn't know what else to say. Welcome to another edition of AOS Trash Pandas. I am your host, Rob. With me, as usual, is my co-host, Carson. That's what I should have said. Hi, Carson.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, everyone.
End of
Thanks
stream.
for joining us.
Everybody. Yeah. We're done.
We are done. So we've made some changes to the stream. I would love it if people could let me know. I've got a new mic. Not a new mic. I've got a new. I use an XLR mic with an XLR connection, and before I was using a little soundboard. But what I want to do, and this is part of what we're talking about tonight, is I'm trying to make some improvements to the stream, to the channel. So one of them is I'm going to try and just have proper microphones on during the battle reports. And so to do that, I needed something that would take my mic and put it into my computer so everyone can actually hear me. So if you could let me know how the gain is and everything. I did some testing before the stream, but I want to make sure that everyone can hear me okay. So if you could let me know how my volume is doing, I'd really appreciate it. Nice. Welcome, Beefy, Romulan, Frost Lords, and Greyseers. I like it. That is perfect. That is perfect. Carson was messaging me earlier, and he's basically saying that we are now an Ogre Maw Tribes channel. And I was like, that is not true. We are a Skaven channel
taking over
that also does Maw Tribes, okay? But lately it's been a lot more beef and a lot less. Oh, nice. Okay. Oh, yes. So the white color is
popping up. I have a suggestion though. You can probably just make it so that it's like just below our cameras, like squeezed into that little area.
That might work better.
Probably okay. But I guess the white background is making it especially bad on the right.
Yes.
Right now it's like in the direct center of the thing, which is a little odd looking.
It's also just choosing apparently to fade everything right away. So I'll have to make some adjustments to that as well. But yeah, hopefully the volume is okay. Oh, all sounds good to you? Or that all sounds good to you? Yeah. Okay, it's popping up now. Looks like we can see that. Okay.
Cool.
Right?
Yeah, that's a good spot for it, I think.
Okay. And then maybe we'll work on another time having it not fade.
We'll perfect it. I mean, it's standard for us to have horrible, terrible technical issues every single stream. So that's true. This is
that
actually
gets blown so far out of proportion. Like you compare it to something that's actually like we don't start like exactly on time, and people are like, "You're late." Technical issues. These guys. Like, come on, man.
What a bunch of jerks.
What a bunch of pieces of crap. Pieces of poop. If we're going with the regular theme that I like to go for.
Yeah. But speaking of pieces of something, I do have something from the meat dimension.
Oh,
and it's my own little pieces of meat. We
nice.
saw a little preview, but now I've got my own here. Oh, it's actually showing up on camera. Okay. There we go. There's the 6 pip. Heck yeah. And I've got 100 of these. So once again, if I see you at a tournament, just ask and I'll give you one. And they will be available on Etsy soon.
They will be on it as soon as I can.
And one more thing from the meat dimension. I've got a nice little bottle of Shinobu whiskey.
Awesome. They got the Shinobi symbol on the front there.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of that
you can
before.
You can read that, right?
Oh, yeah. Shinobu. It's the nin from ninja.
Yes. Yeah, this is actually a really good distillery in Japan. I went to a whiskey tasting event over the weekend, and I already had this.
Oh, yeah?
They had this there as well. and the distillery was there, and they had this really good like 100% rice whiskey that was it was really good. Really, really good.
So on my 19th birthday, which is the drinking age here in Canada, my parents got me an entire bottle of sake, reishu, and I drank the whole thing. I got alcohol poisoning, and it's just never tasted the same to me ever since. It's like what most people
That's
do with
fair.
tequila, I did with sake. Yeah. I could drink atsukan or umeshu or something like that, but the regular reishu, but that's probably best, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sound and volume
Ramen
is
the
good.
dog,
Thank you so much, Beefy. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Roblin Dog asks, important question: are the meat dice edible?
No, they're
For
not.
legal reasons, I have to say no.
Yes. Please, let's keep it
But
legal.
For cool guy reasons.
They're- Open wide. Yep.
Yum.
And then
Lots of being coming.
in
Okay.
in the fine print it says only edible while you are currently in the meat dimension.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's just an important distinction.
That is a that is an important
Damn,
distinction for
Alex,
sure.
that was a low blow. Okay, I know I'm not an all-star. The plural has nothing to do with me. You'll be glad to know. Okay, so just okay. We'll keep the insults to a minimum tonight. Hopefully, okay. I know
For the
my
first 10
place.
minutes, at least.
I know my place.
Yeah.
Better bring some battered bison. That sounds freaking good. I love bison. So, ooh.
He's talking about. Actually, I'll give a shout out. He's talking about a tournament that Beefy Crunch is going to be running in Winnipeg, and that's going to be on May 29th or 31st. May 31st, I think it is.
Nice.
So if you're in the Winnipeg area, or if you're anywhere nearby,
Are you
it's cheap to
officially
fly to
going?
Winnipeg. It's looking very likely,
Ooh,
but I'm not 100% committing yet.
That's fair.
The
That's
one
fair.
thing that I kind of I'm waiting for is to see like when the GW Open tournaments are announced for, because if it ends up being like a week or two after that, it
I
might be a little
see.
bit difficult for me to go to both.
I see. Yeah. I mean,
But
that's
it is
fair.
looking very likely. Yeah.
Wow, May 31st. That's so awesome. Yeah, I hope you go. I hope you go for sure. Meat to mention whiskey as usual. That's true. Important question. Oh yeah, sorry. I'm catching up now. Is rice whiskey really whiskey? That's actually a good question, Ladivicus, because whiskey is usually made from, well, I guess a rice is a kind of grain, right? Because I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, that's a good question. It's like, I mean, it's all just kind of but I mean, it looks like whiskey. Anyway, we're getting. Maybe they
This
age
isn't
it.
rice whiskey. This is. I'm not sure what this is.
Yeah, that's not.
think this is
Oh,
just
I
barley.
see. So the rice whiskey, was it clear or was it like an amber hue?
It was red.
Red.
It was weird. Yeah, like it was so amber hue that it was like almost red, and
Whoa.
it was fantastic. It was really good.
Rice is just generally speaking a very smooth thing to make alcohol out of. So
It was like fruity though. It was almost like it tasted like
I guess
sake almost.
So it's probably like aged sake.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because like
I
I've
think
had.
they aged it in Mizunara oak as well, which is what this distillery tends to do.
I see.
But yeah,
Because like I've had aged vodka and it's like it was yellowy, but they just took vodka and I've aged gin, aged moonshine, all that jazz, and they're all normally clear. But
yeah.
oh, ending the death! Wow, don't spoil it for anyone. Obviously, I'm way behind. Challenge accepted.
Sanguinius dies.
You jerk. I mean, if you've seen the poster from the last 40 years or whatever, you probably knew that, or 30 years, I guess. Yes. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Bahamut. Blood for the blood god, man. So this is about as long as we've ever not talked about the rumor engine. Sylvaneth?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's got.
I kind of wanted to go down my train of thought. My
Please.
end result is yes, Sylvaneth.
Please.
But originally when I looked at this, I was like, oh, Nurgle. And then I looked closer and I was like, wait, those are like beehives. Those are like little beetles coming out of it.
Right.
There's actually leaves on the tree. There are no like, pus boils or anything like that. So it's definitely Sylvaneth, I think.
Yeah. The only other possibility realistically is Wood Elves for the Old World, because they're definitely supporting that. Like, it looks like every army's going to get something. They've already showed what the orcs are getting. They're getting like a new war boss or something. But it seems super likely. It definitely seems like plastic, and we've already gotten stuff kind of like this before with the Warsong Revenant, and he's got like eggs and stuff hatching all over him. Yeah, I'm excited. I think it'll be really cool. Branch Wraith. Oh, very specific. Or a Warcry spring release, or Silent People. Yeah, I don't think it's Silent People because of the tree, but that's a good call. I mean, we've been hearing about Silent People for so long now. Yeah. Wow, you're sad it's over. It's that good. Damn. I'm gonna have to get back to that series. But yeah, no, I think that's what it is. I would love to see like how Drycha has like beehives in her kind of deal. I mean, I know it's not beehives, it's spite swarm or whatever, but like I think it would be dope if they kind of went that way, because these bugs look more like like beetles or ladybugs or something like that, Ladivicus, that is amazing. He says it's wasps. Everyone hates wasps. Everyone hates Lumineth. Therefore, it's Lumineth. I mean, I think he actually proved it mathematically. We kid.
Yep.
You know what's crazy is like I actually think Lumineth. I'm not a Lumineth guy. I think that's probably well known, right? But it seems like Lumineth is an army that gets people into AoS. Like they are the high elves. Like I could see them actually becoming the most popular army in the game, properly supported.
Yeah. Yeah, if that's the sort of thing you're into, I think it 100% like hits the nail on the head for that aesthetic.
Right?
So
yeah.
Like I know I have plenty of friends that had high elf armies as kids and look into AoS and they're like, "Oh, there's the high elves."
There's the high
The
elves.
only thing that kind of like is a little bit of hitch in that is that they can't use their old. I mean, they could if they want. They could proxy easily.
Yep.
But the old models don't have direct representations in the Lumineth book.
That's
is
true.
The only problem.
That's true. And I think it's probably worth pointing out too that there's also a bunch of weird stuff. It's high elves. It's like all the traditional high elf stuff, plus weird stuff like cows and kangaroos and stuff that you don't traditionally associate with them. But once like Tyrion comes out, it'll probably be some kind of lion-esque creature, and then it'll be kind of. I think it'll really bring in the high elf players. Sanguinius dies? What? How could you spoil that for people? It was rude. They really are. I actually really hate wasps. I was stung. Like my first memory is walking through the park with my parents, and I stepped on a wasp nest and I got stung like 3 or 4 times. But hippo elves.
I remember one time my dad paid me to like pressure washer the garden, which I thought was a weird request. And when he didn't,
he knew there was a wasp.
I don't know if it was a wasp nest or something, but whatever it was, they were mad, and it was painful. But it was worth $20, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. For $20, I had to cut down all the alder trees on an embankment and drag them all to the bottom and cut them up. So that actually does. I think I would take your. Yeah.
That was in like 1927, though, right? What's
Yes.
the inflation on that?
Yes, I am a Highlander from the. Yeah, I'm from the Highlands of North Vancouver. So.
Yeah, I mean it is high and it is land.
It's all a mountain.
High in many senses of the word.
All the North Shore is a mountain. Yeah. Everything is on a hill. Yeah, it's true. But yeah, so My gosh. We used to do that actually. We used to throw rocks at wasp nest, and one time there was a wasp nest on another embankment near our house, and my dad was worried it was going to get to the dogs, like because it was like right, where they were hanging out and all that stuff all the time. So we put them inside, and he just poured a thing of gasoline on top of it. Took a thing of matches, lit it on fire, and threw at it, and just goes boom up in the air, like super high. And there was this big rock right above it. It just scorched it. Just like there's this huge black mark. And then he's like, "Oh, they're still coming out." And he just kept, like those, fruit juice concentrate. You buy them in the freezer or whatever. He just kept pouring gasoline into like whole things of that, and then just throwing it at the fire, just keep going up in the air. We're going, yeah, this is awesome.
To make sure. Yeah.
It's crazy. Oh man.
Also, I love this little chain of dialogue that's going on
I
in
know.
the chat right now.
I know.
Where Kiki just says, "I always thought wasps were useless, but then I learned how figs grow. You can't have a fig without a wasp." And then Ludivicus just says, "Wasp Newtons?" Which is like the most horrifying thing I can imagine, because I love fig Newtons biting into one and it just being wasps. It's like congratulations, you're in hell.
That's godlike. Yeah, that's absolutely godlike. Wasps also eat a lot of other insects like mosquitoes and aphids and stuff. So they also do help in that regard. But I hate them, and I would rather have wasps all be dead than to have fig Newtons. So there you go.
I agree.
But I guess it's okay that they're around. I'll allow it.
Yeah.
Mosquitoes are the worst. Can we all agree mosquitoes are the worst?
Pretty easy. Mosquitoes are terrible, but we've had it easy on the West Coast for mosquitoes and wasps.
That's true.
Like they're like baby mosquitoes and baby wasps compared to the rest of the world, it feels like.
Yeah. Well, if you go to Asia anyway, they're horrible over there.
Well,
anyway,
speaking of Winnipeg, apparently, like, I don't know, there's like wasp cavalry, I feel like, out there. Like, people could use them as mounts.
Wasp riding other wasps.
Yeah, exactly.
Heavy wasp cavalry. Oh, man. Oh, dear. Okay, so we also have some other things to talk about or whatever from the news.
Yep.
Or actually, I should talk about this first. Flesh Eater Courts are finally coming. So we got, the book is announced. They're coming out literally on my birthday, which is dope. And Usharan, we're finally getting this bad boy. The, what you call it? It's not an Army of Renown, but like the box set that includes the new
Regiment of Renown?
Regiment of Renown? Yeah, I think it's a Regiment of Renown.
Is it?
Anyway.
Is it a Regiment of Renown? I think it is, right?
Fangs of
we don't actually know, actually. There haven't
Fangs
been
of the
rules
Blood
released
Queen.
for it yet.
Does it even say? I didn't bother to look. It doesn't say that I can see anyway. So we're getting that. She looks really cool. And a lot of people who don't have enough direwolves and or fellbats. So I feel like this box is not bad. Like, I think it's a pretty good deal. Assuming it's not priced inappropriately, but
yeah, I was going to say, depending on the price.
But I feel like they, generally speaking, are usually like, it is a discounted price, right? So, it's hopefully not the worst thing in the world. What base sizes do wasps come on?
105 by 70.
That was
same as a Slaughtermaster. Yeah.
I was gonna say they used to come on 25s and now they're on 28.5s. But I kind of like yours better.
No, you sweet summer child. No. It needs to be oblong for the stinger.
Yeah, those are Asian wasps. Okay, nice. Yeah, used model. It's a regiment of old models. These aren't old models. These are actually all from the... Wait, no, they're not from the most recent release. But they are from they're not old models per se. Anyway.
The direwolves are the oldest things in there, aren't they? The fellbats are pretty new, I thought.
No, the fellbats and the direwolves came out at the same time with the last release of Soulblight Gravelords, rather, in 2.0. So right before 3 came out, Soulblight was the last release. I want to say it was around now. Maybe it was April. I can't remember.
That's relatively new. That's not bad at
Oh
all.
yeah, no, like that's what I was saying. It's they're what I consider to be new models. But yeah, what base sizes do figs come on? You guys are insane, and I love it. So there's the new cover with well, look, it could be Giorgio Armani. I'm not. I can't tell. You know, like, oh no, that's no, never mind. That's not Giorgio. Giorgio is a it's Sir Giorgio. This is clearly Duke Percival. Maybe Duke Percival. It's hard to tell. Anyway, also Grand Justice Gourmain and the Abhorrent Cardinal and the Royal Decapitator, and then all the stuff that like came out before that you couldn't only buy in the box set is coming out individually, which is cool. The dice looks cool. I'm glad that they're switching to 16 dice now. I was thinking about picking them up, just do like my, what do you call, NDP, my, you know, but
Your Democratic Party?
yeah, that I want to keep track of that, you know?
Yeah, you got to keep track of that.
Exactly. But, I don't know. I probably won't get them. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I could like they used to be 20 dice for what, like $50 or something Canadian?
I mean, it's changed so much. They used to be, I think
It
they were
has.
$25 for the Idness dice. Not that that's the best.
Oh, it's definitely a lot more than that now.
No, I know. No, I think
Like-
I think it was 50 now, which is just so gross.
Yeah.
I remember,
So hopefully they reduce the price for 16.
right?
That would be nice.
I remember
That'd be kind of
this-
insane if it was 16 for $50. Jeez.
I think they're 36. I think they're like 30 or 30 something. I did
Yeah.
see.
Also, Dale says there's 6 regiments in renown in the new book. Neferata's Royal Echelon, the Summer King's Entourage, Lich's Hand, Scions of the Necropolis, and the Sorrowmorn Choir.
Nice.
Oh, and the Sterniest Garrison?
Okay.
Is it an I? That'd be pretty crazy if that was the case. And also, I feel like that's a meta-busting book right there, because one of them is going to be crazy, guaranteed.
Right.
At least.
Yeah. It feels like it's going to be hard not to do. Do you know what's in them, Dale? I have not.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Also, Mabal says 16 dice seems strange. I agree.
Yeah.
However, the programmer in me likes that it's a power of 2. So,
Exactly.
like, I bought 64 of my original mustache dice, which seems like an odd amount to buy, but
I bought a factor of 13 for my Skaven dice when I had them made, my Greyseer dice. I don't remember what it was though. I was just like posted 13. I just figured 13 times something. Pick from the book on the Discord, but no details. Oh, okay, cool. One, yeah, we did know that there was going to be one for each Mortark. That's good. Kiki says, "Why is 16 better than 20?" It's not. It's just that like the price went down by like 40%, and the amount of dice you get went down by like what, 20? I think. So that's, I don't know. It's not better. It's definitely not better. But
yeah. That being said, if someone offered me something where I got 256 of something versus 300 of it, I would pick the 256 version every time because it's a satisfying power of 2.
That's
every time.
It is satisfying, but I would pick the 300 because it's 300. It's so much more.
Well, joke's on you. It was 300 wasps. So have fun with that.
Oh, dear. Oh, man. 36 dice cubes. Yeah, I don't remember what it is, my balls, but I think it was like $34, $35 Canadian, I want to say. I'm trying to remember even where I saw the information. I think it was in the WhatsApp group. And I was just multiplying. Someone did put on the Saga of Dice Discord, by the way. A lot of people are very kind to post a lot of that information. And if you want to come and hang out, the link's in the description below. Totally free. Anyway. So then, 256 wasps is more manageable. That's true than 300. That's true. They also did like an article about how to paint some of the stuff, and like obviously the new book has it has that info, but I just thought it was really cool because a lot of people wanted to know how to do the skin, including me, and I'm doing my own thing, but the painter in me just wanted to know how they painted Usharan's skin because it's rad. And so anyway, they posted that up there. It's on the community team, on the community site rather, on Robson. I'm just like, how can I get around saying this fully? Thank you, Mobiles. Appreciate it very much.
Well, when you whisper it like that, it sounds like you're actually talking to your own balls. Like, I don't think you should do that.
Dang it. Foiled again.
Thank you.
It is a great username though. And last in the news, there was actually a Skaven short story, which someone was again kind enough to post on the Discord, or I almost didn't notice it, and it's pretty good. You know, it's fun little like rival story between two warlock engineers. So yeah, it's fun. We can't, you know, the more of them, the better. You know, the prose is, you know, a little hit and miss at the start, I found, but overall it was a very fun story. So I would recommend people checking it out if they're looking for some Skaven content. But yeah, so Carson,
Rob,
would you like to talk about AoS All-Stars?
I would. It's a coincidence that you'd bring that up tonight when the
I
name
know.
of the stream is announcing AoS All-Stars. It's
Exactly.
crazy, actually. Yeah.
This is
You let me know when you have the image on the screen, and then I'll kind of
absolutely.
I'll
have
do
it
like an intro.
I have it out, but I didn't want to put. I thought you might want to because well.
Okay, well, I'll do a little preamble.
Thank you.
So a while back, I did like a bit of a. I was asking around for some practice games for LVO, and Fred Schmidt, the #1 ITC Sylvaneth player for 2023, reached out and was like, "Hey, let's do a TTS game." I was like, "Cool." When we were deciding like when to meet, where to play, I suggested, "Hey, let's play in the AoS Coach Discord," and then I'll just share my screen so if anyone wants to kind of like pop in, they can, and watch. And actually, like quite a few people did. I think at its peak, there was like 10 to 12 people who just like randomly decided to pop in and just like watch as we were playing this random TTS game. So I thought it would be interesting if I could kind of like reach out to like really top tier players and have them just absolutely kick the crap out of me live as I kind of talk to them about their army and like, you know, how they got to the place that they are. So AoS All-Stars is kind of like something I've been cooking up for a little bit, where every 2 weeks, basically I'm going to find like an all-star level player. And that could be that they were like #1 ITC in something. Maybe they got to the World Championships. Maybe they went 5-0 at a tournament that was like pretty substantial. And then just kind of talk to them about like their play style, that sort of thing. But most importantly, I'm actually going to play them in a match live on these dates. So we've already got a bit of a lineup here. We're going to start off with our very own Matthias, because you know he's a member of Team Canada. He came, I think, second in like the Proto WCW, which is pretty crazy. And because he's local and we know him, he's a familiar face, and it's a good thing to kind of ease into this.
He's been on the channel many times. He did the Skaven breakdown. We've only had 2 breakdowns, Ogres and Skaven, and he was kind enough to do that. He's done some strategy videos and stuff, and yeah. So
yeah, exactly. The next up, so we're gonna do it every 2 weeks, and it's gonna be on Mondays. The time of day is gonna be based on whenever they're available, just because all stars are people from all around the world. Their availability is going to change,
and we'll tweet it out, and we'll tweet it out and put it out there. If you guys are curious, we'll put it on the Discord. Yep. We'll put it on Twitter and everywhere else. Hopefully before the day of, and that way you can, if you want to be there while they're in it, then you can hang out and whatnot. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that people
Yeah.
knew kind of where to go to look to find the time in case they wanted to be there live. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries whatsoever. Yeah, so number 2 is going to be Fred Schmidt. He was the one that I kind of got inspired to make this for. Fred, he was the number 1 ITC Sylvaneth player for 2023. He was at WCW, great player, and yeah, he was just a really nice guy too. So I'm excited to have him on the channel. And then lastly, we've got well, not lastly, but for the third slot, March 11th, we've got Caleb Walters, which needs no introduction. You know, he's the number 1 Zinch player. I think he was like barely not the number 1 Chaos player overall for 2023, but
wow,
you know, certainly he's done extremely well for himself. He's known throughout the community.
Not even just AoS 3, AoS 2, AoS 1. He is the Zeech guy.
Yeah. Yep. So he's going to be joining us March 11th. I already have a time of day for that, which I'll tweet out closer to the date, which is pretty good. So, and then March 25th, who knows? Who could it be?
We're
not sure. It's definitely not because we don't know who it is yet. It's definitely
Damn it,
not
shut
that.
up, Carson. We're supposed to pretend like we're doing what GW does. Like, no, we know, but it's a secret.
But you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
But you don't know.
But
yeah. So if you know an all-star player, if you are an all-star player, feel free to reach out. We can set up a time. And then, yeah, I was going to... Alex exposed me just now. He said Carson's secret method of getting practice against people who are better than us. It's just me practicing live is what it is. It's me secretly practicing while masquerading as content.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, if you know anybody that would be interested in something like this, feel free to reach out. I'm on Twitter. You can reach out on the Discord. Plenty of avenues. Yeah, I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun. And again, it's going to be live streamed. So if you have any questions for these people, you can be asking in chat and we'll relay it to those people live and they can answer it to the best of their ability unless they decide not to for some reason.
Exactly.
And I'll be asking questions of my own too. So if you can't think of anything, there will be dialogue. And yeah,
it's really exciting. This is Carson's idea. We talked about it not that long ago. I think, was it last week?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. And it was just like, I was just like, oh my God, yes, this is such a good idea. So yeah, I'm extremely excited too. I'm going to be, I'll probably be like modding it if I can. I usually take my kid to fencing and different things on Monday, but like, hopefully I'll be able to be there for most of it and just kind of hang out and enjoy it like everyone else. So yeah, going to talk about that glorious Skaven story from Friday. We can. I don't want to give it away. Like, I actually was recommending it, Bahamut, for people to watch. But yeah, like, we can certainly talk about it a bit. But yeah. So yeah, like, I hope you guys enjoy. Yeah, and like Carson said, if you have an idea, if and it doesn't have the great thing about this is because Carson's going to be playing on TTS, they don't have to be from our country or even our continent. Like, they could be, if like a really good, like, Idneth player from like Sweden or something, right? Then let us know, like, reach out. Yeah. Again, Twitter, Discord, you can reach out to me. You can email us, like, do whatever. It doesn't matter, but yeah.
Yeah. Kiki asks, will you be streaming this on YouTube or Twitch or Discord? We're going to be streaming this on YouTube, just for starters. There's a chance that in the future we set up a Twitch channel. We can like dual stream to both.
We were talking about that.
Sure, we can. But I think definitely it's going to be a ramp up where, like, the first one's with Matthias. It's someone that we know, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Then as we ramp up, we can kind of explore what works and what doesn't. So
indeed. And I believe I actually talked to Carson. That was one of my first questions was like, should we also stream it on Twitch? And then Carson was saying he's pretty sure that, what do you call it? You need to like pay money or something like that to be able to dual stream, I think. So we'll kind of see how it goes for now. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But no, I would like to get on Twitch as well and start doing some content on there, because it seems like that's where people kind of go to do stuff live a lot of the time, you know?
Yeah.
But
And why not double dip? We can.
yeah, exactly. Carson's Ogre versus Tau. Oh man. It's funny though, before, like a long time ago, during 8th edition 40k, and we were in 2nd edition AoS, and I was talking to some 40k players, and they're like, "Yeah, I'll bring my Space Marines versus your Skaven," and I was like, "My Skaven will completely destroy your Space Marines." I was just like, I just explained to him what my Warp Lightning Cannon did, and he was like, "What the hell? Like, what do you mean? Like, you can just do 12 mortal wounds?" And I was like, I mean, that's not always. Sometimes it kills itself, and it's very balanced in AoS, but in 40k, like, there's just like more mortal wounds in AoS, and there's more mortal wounds saves. So generally speaking, yeah, it would be a bad time for you. But it's but then again, I don't know about 40k now, right? Or even 9th edition. Like, there was so many mortal wounds for Tyranids in 9th edition. That counts. But, you know, I think the idea is we're looking for, like, people who are, you know, like, because we've got a lot of scrubs in our club. Like, that's who we normally have on the channel. I'm just kidding. Actually, we're very lucky to have some very competitive people in our area. Who we've had on the channel for live battle reports, and that's kind of the idea is like when we do a battle report, it's, you know, we're limited by our geography, right? So if we, like, normally we would have like Matthias just come on the channel and do a proper battle report, like a live, you know, normal game of Age of Sigmar with we can do that with Matthias and Carson. So Matthias is kind of almost an exception from what, you know what I mean, on this list. We're doing it with him first because, you know, Matthias is very good with TTS, and you know what I mean? Like, we know him, and I don't know. Right from the get-go though, Carson said, "I want to do it with Matthias first." So I don't even remember, but like, anyway, that's just the way it was. But like, the idea behind this is that we're going to have access to people that we don't normally have access to, right?
Yeah. Matthias is the catapult for us to access the rest of the world. There we go.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's not true, but we're saying it's true.
I mean, he is going to Worlds, so.
Oh, you mean like the Worlds team, the team Worlds, what do you call it?
That was just a random one-off comment.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Yep. AoS All-Stars After Dark Carson Club's babysitting. Is it your first AoS game? Come join me on TT. That'd be such a mean thing to do.
Oh, man. I'll invite all the dudes that have beat Carson on. That's actually a kind of a good idea, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AoS Nemesis.
Nemesis, yeah. Let's see if you can get revenge, but probably not. Just kidding.
Probably not.
Probably you can, but it's funner to run you down. And I know you appreciate that, so. We all know you appreciate it.
Exactly.
Roll 12-inch charges with your with your ogres. Yeah. I mean, that works. Honestly, like, if you can just roll a 9 every time in general in Age of Sigmar or better, you're probably going to win. Just roll a 9 in all your charges.
I would take that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'd take that every time.
Yeah. Just a 9, you know?
Just a 9. Because then you can just end just outside of 9 and no one could ever redeploy against you.
Right.
And there you go.
Wow. Yeah, there's that too. We'll see how it goes in AoS 4. But so then, yeah, we've got some other stuff planned on the channel as well. This isn't all about AoS All-Stars, although that's probably the main thing we're going to talk about tonight. And anyone's, you know, anyway, but we also kind of wanted to bring up what people want to see on the channel going forward. You know, this past month or so, or a little more than that, obviously, that my camera's been broken for filming battle reports, it's kind of given us some time to kind of contemplate the kinds of content you want to see. And so we filmed a battle report with Will. It will probably be out the day after tomorrow. I think it's going to be uploaded tomorrow, and then it should be able to come out the next day. So look for that. It's my Cruel Boys versus Will's Trug's Trog Herd. And it's a barn burner. It's a really close game. And anytime you think it's over, trust me, it ain't over. It's a really good one. So, and there's some hilarious and also stupid moments on there. And you can probably guess who is making those stupid moments come to fruition. Obviously Will. But then, sometimes I, for the sake of content, threw some stupid moments in there. It's all for you, though. It's all for the people at home. But anyway, but all jokes aside, though, it is a really good battle report. Look out for that coming out soon. We're hoping to get more regular content. Obviously, AoS All-Stars, but also other battle reports coming out, on a more regular basis now that we have a new, a different camera. But I really wanted to ask people, and if you're watching this in the future as well, please, I would love comments. What kinds of things do you want to see? Like we have been throwing around, now that the camera's working again, possibly doing live battle reports, like what Carson's going to be doing on TTS, but more just normal battle reports, stuff like that. Are you looking for more strategy videos, that kind of thing? So yeah, like people watch AoS content for different reasons, right? And so I'm one of those people. Like I used to pretty much just watch battle reports and like Warhammer Weekly and a few other bits and bobs. But now that I'm making battle reports, I very rarely watch battle reports, and your taste can kind of change. So like, I don't know how much, like, what do you primarily watch, Carson?
I'm kind of the same way, where I would like chime into battle reports a lot. But now being part of this channel, I don't do that as much. And I find that now what I tend to chime into is more so people's commentary on events. So like I'll tune into like Honest Wargamer covering like the recent events of that weekend. I'll tune into, AoS Coach, because he usually has someone on that's like very intimately familiar with a specific subject. Like I watched this WCW video that he had with two of his Australian buddies. Yeah, just stuff like that. Like covering like more live events as opposed to just like a battle report with a specific army.
Right. Yeah. The musings on
that was actually kind of the reason why I thought that All-Stars could be kind of nice, is that like I find that like battle reports certainly are very like handy to watch, but you're usually not seeing like one of the players be like one of the best players in the world or something like that. It's very rare for that to be the case.
Yeah.
And for it to be like a regularly occurring thing, I think it could be really useful. So
really useful and fun. I'm super excited for that as well. The musings of Rob the Squire. Can we at least just change it to Warp Squire or something rat related? Rat Squire? I think Warp Squire is probably better. That should be my name, like Gracier Rob Warp Squire. Squire.
Squire or Squire?
I changed it to Scryer by accident because Warp Scryer just sounds a lot better. But now I'm like not even in the general vicinity of your original intention of the whole thing. Yo, Matthew, thank you so much for the super chat. That's so nice. List building theory would be awesome. That's such a great idea. Like, you didn't need to make that a super chat, but we sure appreciate it. Yeah, that's a really great idea. I mean, the thing is about list building, and I know Carson feels the same way. It's very iterative, so it's not like I've never just come out of the gate with my final list. Like I've never ever done that. But I think it's still a really good idea. Maybe we could do a show on list building.
Yeah, I was gonna say we can prepare like a slide deck like I did for the ogre show,
Right.
and then kind of go through like these are the things that you usually consider.
Yeah.
These are how you iterate on a list because, like you said, it is iterative. So what does that mean? Like, how do you actually apply that?
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
And like where we look first. Like I tend to look at the sub allegiances when I'm trying to figure out like what's going in my army. You know what I mean? Like obviously you have to look at the war scrolls to even know what's going on. But like I mean when I'm actually like you can look at for example crypt horrors, right? And crypt horrors are like they're fine. They're very good for their points, which makes me think that they'll probably go up. But then you go through the sub allegiances and you're like, oh, in Hollowmorn they're +1 damage. You're like, my God. Like that makes such a huge difference. Like it just changes the whole game. And that's kind of where I tend to go from there. But yeah. Competitive battle reports. Yeah. Like even in the ones that like kind of claim to be competitive, like they're still kind of limited by what they have access to, right? So yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
I also find it is a little bit hard to apply like truly super competitive mindsets and thoughts to general like armies, I guess, if that makes sense. Like it's very easy to explain like this specific combo or like this specific thing, this is how you should deploy for this army. But saying that for all armies as a whole, you can kind of like dull it a little bit, I think.
That's true.
So
And
there's definitely certain things that you can apply across all armies for sure.
for
But yeah.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and there is like that's why people and actually AOS Coach did an episode just about deployment a while ago. And that was really interesting. And it, and there's a lot more theory in there, but I wanted to say too that like a normal battle report, it's not conducive to a competitive battle report. Like when we're filming those things, you literally have to think about not being boring. You know what I mean? Because like if people, and I don't speak for everyone. I just want to make that super clear. If you have a choice between a battle report that's entertaining and a battle report that is like that's entertaining but not competitive, right? Full stop. And a battle report that is competitive and is not entertaining, by far most of the people are going to choose entertaining because battle reports are entertainment. They're not information. That's why I think there's kind of a separation. But this will be a lot more. This will be on the competitive side of things, and it should also be entertaining because we're not. You guys don't need to worry about. You don't need to worry about like cameras and facing and talking to the camera and that kind of thing. Like this is going to fulfill, I think, that whole other section in a way that just isn't possible normally. I just think it's the greatest idea. And I have no credit in this idea whatsoever. This is completely Carson's idea, by the way, just to be clear. Yeah. I missed it. I was looking at the chat. He could have given me the finger. I wouldn't know, guys. I got it that time. What up, Sean? Thanks for joining us. I'm coming from 40K and building those lists are so different than AOS. It's so true, Matthew. And one of the biggest complaints about AOS is when you first start doing it, whether you're familiar with 40K or not, it's basically that the core rulebook doesn't actually teach you how to build a list at all. And so that's why I actually made a video just explaining. I don't even use Battle Scroll, but I was just like, Battle Scroll is free. It's out there. Everyone has access to it. You just need a browser. So I did a video just literally how to make a list. Not how to make a competitive list or whatever to do there. Just literally the nuts and bolts of making a list. And so that is something that's kind of been, what's the word? like a criticism of Age of Sigmar, and I'm sure that they'll improve that in AoS 4, but yeah, it's out there. So no, I think that's a great suggestion. We'll come up with something. Me and Carson will talk about it, and we will we'll make some kind of content on that, right, Carson? Like, yeah, it's a great idea.
Yes.
Either a presentation or we'll do a podcast on it. List building strategies would be great. Going over battle plans with a list, army specific strategies, masterclass videos, deployment, how to. Wow. I'm literally going to copy that down and send it to myself. Can I do that? Will my program let me? It will not. So I'm going to have to sign on.
I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
You're good. Yeah.
Appreciate it. It's, yeah, this program doesn't let you do that. Oh dear. No, don't. There we go. Okay. Okay, so then that's so good. That slide deck is clutch. Get the rules wrong. That's annoying. It's true. It's really, you know, like we're guilty of it too, Matthew, for sure. On the live battle reports, it's so hard, man. And honestly, like it might be just as hard in these new ones. So like if you see like the best players in the world, like Caleb, like no one doubts Caleb's one of the best players in the world. If you see him get something wrong, you know it's literally just because he's like, oh, I'm being streamed right now. Like that's just what your brain, you know, like I think I've said this before, but Carson, is it okay if I tell them about the very first time you were ever on the channel?
Sure. I don't know where this is going, but I'm interested. So
I've
yes.
told you this story before, and I always say the wrong thing, right? So you will correct me because I always say the wrong thing. But basically, so we always do those. We always get in front of the camera, and I go, "Hi, welcome to Sagaofdice. We've got another battle report, and we've got Carson with me, and blah blah blah." And we went through the whole thing, right? And then we went up, right? And then after I record that, just to make sure that, you know, because you kind of have this disembodiment kind of experience a lot of the time when you're recording yourself on camera. And so I was just like, I always turn to the person I'm filming it with, and I was like, is that okay? Like, did that sound okay or whatever? And what did you say to me, Carson? Because I never remember the exact words.
I think I said something along the lines of like, honestly, I have no idea what you said. I just went into the shadow realm while you were speaking.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
He's like, I didn't hear a single word you said. I went into the shadow realm that whole time.
Yeah. So Rob's giving his intro, and I'm just disassociating, just like.
He's just like. And then what's funny though too is that we didn't have the audio from that. Like it turned out that the audio didn't record for that. So I don't even know, like, I just remember I remember you looking at the camera and just staring into the camera, right, and smiling, but you didn't say anything, and then anyways, we had to re-record it like 2 more times to get the audio to work, and then anyway, it's just kind of funny. It's one of those things where it's like you don't know until you try it, you know what I mean? And it's the same thing for me, but. Yeah, hopefully it'll be good. Editing content is great. Just don't change the trash pen if we've all come to know and love. I can't tell if that's an insult or a compliment, but we have no intention of changing because changing is difficult. Okay, Leviticus, so rest assured. War Mistress Tanya was talking about how Playon doesn't typically have competitive people because they aren't entwining or entertaining.
I'm gonna look up what entwining means. I've never heard that word before. Let's see.
Entwining? Isn't that like entwine? Like
I didn't know that it was actually a word. Wind or twist together, interweave. I assume it's entertaining was the intended word.
Right? Yeah. It's probably like an autocorrect.
Yeah.
Yes. That's basically it, you know. I have consumed other content in the past, and it's very difficult to be both entertaining and informative or whatever. Like your brain, it's like, okay, I know I bring up fighting games too much, right? But like, there's this thing in fighting games called footsies where you're like positioning yourself to like hit people and stuff like that. And it's hard to keep your mind on that, on if a jump into doing anti-airs, if they jump in, you know, fireballs, like there's only so much your mind can keep track of at one time, right? Unless you're some kind of savant. And Carson is probably better than most people at like, you know, keeping his rules straight and whatever, but even he makes mistakes. And if even he makes mistakes, then I feel like that's, you know, or if even Matthias is like, I don't think anyone would disagree that Matthias is a savant with rules and knowledge of the game. And if even he makes mistakes, then literally anyone's going to make mistakes. You know, it makes me feel a lot better about the frankly too many mistakes that I make. But give me Battle Scroll leak. We would if we could. I don't know anything. I don't think like I don't get like stuff ahead of time from GW. Like I've been lucky here and there to get some stuff, you know, from fans or whatever, people who know me or like me or whatever. And, but yeah, we don't get anything. I don't think any of the content creators get anything ahead of time, for Battle Scroll. I think they just react to stuff. Rob's got the fighting game analogy tapped. Not yet, Ladivicus. Not yet. Or maybe I did. I can't remember. I don't think I did. Yeah, that was actually an idea I had, Carson, is we should make a bingo card. So Rob says poop. There you go, Ladivicus. Is like maybe the center square, you know? And then like Carson references the meat dimension, or maybe that's actually the center square.
Yeah, because I do it literally every stream.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. It should be whatever is like the most, you know, like
Carson pulls something out of the meat dimension.
Pulls something out of the meat dimension. That should be center square. We have technical problems somewhere else, right?
Yep.
And then Rob says poop would be on there. Rob does a fighting game analogy. Rob mentions his love of skating.
Will you a rant about how AoS models are better than 40k models?
Like either visually? One of us could do that.
Either one of us, yeah.
It's probably
but
me.
It happens a lot.
It does happen a lot.
You know what I don't like about 40k? It's all Space Marines.
Well, you know what? Like, completely unrelated. Did you realize how much better the models are in AoS? Like, apropos of nothing, did you realize how much better they actually are than 40k? Like, 40k models are awesome. That. Don't get me wrong. They actually are awesome. But did you realize how good AoS models are? Like, they're insane. Am I right?
I think Bahamut found the actual center square. Rob gets excited.
That might be the actual center square. Rob gets hype. Yeah. More Tarkov hype, baby. More Tarkov meat, more Tarkov hype. Right again. Oh, man. Alariel up 200 points. God dang. Oh, man. That's a low blow. I mean, she's not like, you know, I actually got like some flack when we were talking about Alariel before. And people were saying, she's better, bro. Like she's in like all competitive lists now. Maybe that's true. I never said I was a Sylvaneth expert, but I don't think she's great. I'm going to stand behind that.
Fred used her against me. She definitely has competitive play, I think.
I think she does. I don't think she's
the
most competitive thing, but yeah.
I honestly truly don't know. Sylvaneth is one of those armies that kind of scares me because like you can do a couple different things with them now, and they're really cagey in the way that they play. So I feel like a really good player is going to be able to exploit that, regardless of like kind of what they include. And because we see Alariel in those like top tier lists sometimes, then clearly there's something there. So.
Yeah, it's true. There is definitely something there. But like I'm going to take Belthanos first. 100% of the time.
That's because you're a Timmy. Wow.
I think he's really good though. Like I
think he is good. I think he's good.
I don't think he's necessarily too low in points. He might be perfect, but meat dice.
I was handing it to Lodivicus.
Oh, nice. Yeah. You're just handing it through your screen. Yeah. Oh man. Actually, so okay. Here, 1 second. Here, give me a second, okay? So Matthew says, I love painting AoS models. They're so much better than 40K. And he's coming from 40K. Like, has there ever been a more, you know, altruistic and, you know, like he's clearly just right. It's just facts.
Well, you know what's interesting is that for LVO this year, it was the largest ever Age of Sigmar tournament.
Okay.
And 40K actually shrank from last year.
Really?
From LVO to LVO. Yeah.
How many players?
Not by much.
How many players did they have?
40K was almost 1,000 people, but still, still much greater than AoS. But it was smaller than last year.
That's crazy. That's amazing. I mean, honestly, good for them. That's congrats.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, wow. Oh, dang it. Actually, there was something else I wanted to bring up during the stream. Was I for like, you know, near the start, like the news or whatever, I saw like, so I've been consuming a lot of old world content because it just came out. It's sort of in the zeitgeist and it's like the top search thing. I think it's even more searched and look out, or excuse me, it's more searched than 40K even right now, supposedly. But I watched a video that Guerrilla Miniature Games did. He's talking with his buddy who owns a store, and he owned a store like right when the old world was like right before it went out of business. Before they blew it up, he opened a store, and so he's been there this whole time for all of AoS, and he played fantasy and everything else. Anyway, him and the guy Ash from Guerrilla Miniature Games they do this like 35-minute talk-ish, and it's really interesting. Like, it's some of the most interesting content I've ever seen on the old world, because it's someone who's boots on the ground with fantasy and now old world and AoS and everything else, and it was so good. I would highly recommend it. I'll see if I can put it in the description. But yes, entertain people, Carson. Do a dance. Make your
Mabal says much large. Sorry, yeah, he says much large, but less of a showing at awards, and he's referring to at LVO, the awards ceremony for like all the ITC awards. The AoS crowd like dwarfed the 40K crowd.
Really?
Yeah. It's like, really? We're definitely much more of an enthusiastic group, I would say.
Yeah, like that's way more like collaborative and like community minded, I guess. Hey.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I would say so. It's then Mabal said it's like the awards ceremonies start at LVO until the AoS guys show up. Like, we were literally cheering on the 40K people as they were getting their awards, and it felt like there was like maybe like a dozen 40K people just going like,
wow.
And the AoS people were just losing their minds. They're like, yeah, best world leaders, yeah.
So I guess the 40K crowd, it's like if you win, then you go. If you didn't win, then you don't go. But the AoS crowd,
I think so. Yeah, it kind of seems that way, which is unfortunate, but
it is.
You know, you do you.
That's true. Okay.
Maybe they were getting dinner or something.
I mean,
Certificate says Carson isn't impressed because it wasn't 1024. What? Sorry, Kyle Harbin says Jesus 1000. What is 1000 in reference to?
I'm so confused.
Oh, 1,000 people at 40K players at LVO.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm not impressed. Yeah, it should have been 1024. So.
What's 1024?
Yeah. I also would have preferred if the AoS tournament was 256 instead of like 340 or whatever it was.
I see. Now I get it.
Yeah.
I forgot about your.
And then hopefully next year we can get 512. That's the goal. 512.
That's fair. I mean.
Yep.
You guys have clearly covered what's most important. So. And then I'm going to. So. Right now. I just updated the description. I was going to do this before Christmas, and then I forgot. I made a Skaven crossword. I don't know why. Just one day I was just like, I'm going to make a Skaven crossword for the channel, apropos of nothing, It's now in the description. It's totally free. It's very white. It's a white background.
Yep.
I can see
It's got
Carson just
flashbang by your crossword.
opened it up. But it's out there for all the Skaven players. Share it around. It's totally free. Have fun. I can finally like take it off of my phone because I've shared it out. Yeah. But and then what was the other thing? Gosh darn it.
The good thing is that you can know that I'm doing the crossword instead of listening to you during the stream, because you know that I'm like actively being blinded. I'm just like,
Yeah, I saw it go on your face, and I was just like, either someone with a very old-fashioned camera just took a very long picture of Carson, or he opened up the Skaven page, the Skaven crossword. Yeah, yeah. Do you have Flux on your computer? No.
no.
It's like this free program you can download that adds more orange to your screen when it gets later at night. It's a little bit better.
Oh,
but,
I see.
yeah.
I know my phone automatically does that, but
yes, yeah, your phone's like Flux was the kind of the one that started it, and then they started adding it to more and more devices. But yeah, FLUX, it's free. It's cool. Yeah. I would say there was Dawnbringers. One second. I am confused. I'm confused. I have to go back to... I saved it. There we go. I would say there was the Dawnbringers. What is this in reference to?
I got that too.
I think I might have missed a conversation. But I'm not seeing it. Okay. Well, anyway, so that's the basic plan. Yeah. Any yeah. I kind of thought that this would take us a little bit further, but I don't really have a lot to add.
That's what I was saying to Rob before the stream. I was like, I can announce AoS All-Stars. That's going to take like 10 minutes. And I'm surprised we managed to milk it this long, to be honest. Yeah. Just milk that content. One other thing to mention quickly.
It's so warm.
So two things, actually. Number one, Wet Coast is a tournament that I'm going to be TOing for in March for Easter long weekend, the Friday and the Saturday. If you're at all interested in coming to an event in the Pacific Northwest, that's available. We just got notified that it is actually a golden ticket event.
Yep.
So if you win Best General at that tournament, then you will have a ticket for you to go to Atlanta. We'll also be subsidizing $500 of your travel expenses, Canadian. Usually, from my experience, that covers like the flight there, essentially. So like your hotel will still have to be paid for by you, or if you split it with someone, you can go halfsies or whatever, but we do cover that. And then also, currently there are just 6 spots left for Wet Coast. So if you want a ticket, buy it now. But we have the potential to open up to 28 more slots if people bring terrain. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I think I've already told you that I can supply some for it.
You didn't actually. So if you can, then we can make more slots.
we actually talked about it when we were filming a battle report, when you were thinking about it. Yeah, and I was just like, I have... Anyway, we'll talk about it later.
Cool.
But
well, almost definitely there will be more slots available. I'd imagine we could probably squeeze up to like 55 to 60 players instead of just 50. But there's 44 people signed up so far, basically.
Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun time. And I'll be bringing the meat dice. So if you do show up and you want a meat dice, then I'll give you one. And yeah,
that's so awesome.
That's that.
Kyle says, side note, love that my buddy told me about your channel. Milk away, boys. Yeah, I mean, you really shouldn't encourage us, but
labels out, boys.
Yeah.
The sponsors are watching. Yeah.
Well played. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us. legitimately, like most of the people, here are the people that we know and we love, that have been with us for a while, but we love it when new people come. And please thank your friend for me. I mean, and I mean this literally personally. Could you please thank them for recommending the channel, because it means a lot to me. My channel like has not been one that like, I didn't have like a meteoric rise. Like it's just been by word of mouth mostly, that people have found it. And so I really appreciate it. Yeah.
I think the stream's been doing pretty well though. Consistently, we've been going up with
We
the
have been
live viewer
steadily
count
going
for
up.
sure.
Yeah. We've come a long way, baby. we had a record amount of concurrence actually during the live stream, the preview stream with Veronica. It was pretty dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Nice.
we've just been averaging more and more as more people show up and get to know us. And we've been averaging more and more people who watch after. And, like I used to show up for certain streams, for the live streams. And now I just can't. There's some stuff that I love to watch for Age of Sigmar. Like I used to like coach streams, like, cause he's in Australia. Most of the time he streams at ridiculous hours. And so I would just like, I didn't have to get up as early then. And like, especially during the pandemic and whatnot, I was just kind of like, hey, but now I just can't watch like a lot of content, like his content, for example. Right. And so I have to watch it afterward. I can't watch it live, but so I totally get it. So if you're watching this in the future, welcome to the future. Hopefully Corona 2 is not doing as, it's not as bad as we thought. And everything's jolly, and all the hornets went home. I couldn't say that. Apparently that's a tongue twister. But yeah, we appreciate you guys too. So yeah. Oh man.
100%. We did just get some good talking points from Ludovicus. And
Ludovicus typically has good talking points. It's impressive.
Yeah. And so Ludovicus says battle scroll predictions. Go.
Okay, before we do that, real quick,
yep.
Because I know Ludovicus is a goblin fanatic. Did you hear that the next battle report is Will Reeves and it is Trug's Trogherd, and it is a barn burner. So look out for that. Okay. Sorry. So top 3 factions to get nerfed and bottom 3 factions to get buffed. That's so hard. I mean, we have statistics.
I think what he's saying is, if I'm interpreting this correctly, he's saying the top 3 factions win percentage wise are going to get nerfed, and then the bottom 3 are going to get buffed. I think he was saying an example.
Oh, I see.
But if not, we can go into our 3. Why don't we just say 3 factions that'll get nerfed and 3 factions that'll get buffed? How about that? So number 1, I think, is like the obvious choice. LVO had some kind of like house rules for nerfs for Cities of Sigmar.
Yep.
I could very easily see those being carried over to the actual battle scroll, because Matt Rose, the GW designer, was literally there and saw it implemented, and I think that you can kind of extrapolate how valuable that was in person.
Right.
And those were things like the I can't remember the ability. It's like saw something for the command corpse. Can't target the same unit 3 times. It has to be 3 separate units when it heals them.
That checks out.
Actually, no, I'll just pull it up. Those 3.
Well, and it should be mentioned. Yeah, I think Cities is going to get nerfed. That is definitely the best. Like, I think we can both just agree on that, right? I don't know if we're picking 3 each, but Cities is definitely. I mean, I guess maybe we'll have the same ones.
Agree on 3. I think that makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I also pick Cities because like the top table, number 1 and number 2 was Cities versus Cities. So it doesn't seem unlikely to me. Maybe they don't change Fusiliers though, because there were no Fusiliers like in any of the top lists, it seems. Right?
I don't think they actually need to change Fusiliers. I think they need to change the things that make them scary. Which is effectively, I feel like the Alchemite Warforger probably shouldn't give 6s our mortal wounds in addition to shooting attacks as well as a melee attack. I think it should probably just be melee attacks, or maybe change something about the range of that so that it's not like wholly within 12 or something crazy. Or maybe they have to pick one specific unit instead of your whole army. I feel like that's probably going to change.
I like that. I think that's my favorite suggestion out of any of those is you pick one unit. I didn't even remember. I just played Eric for a practice game for LVO, and I didn't even remember that it was every unit. Is it every unit? That's
It's just
pretty wild.
it's an aura. Wholly within 12.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Both melee and shooting.
I
That's
mean,
an insane
It is
buff.
a spell. It is a spell, so you can like, block it.
Yeah. But it's like so
No, I
it's
agree.
just crazy.
It is
Yeah.
crazy. So
Like I would kill for an ability like that. That would be nuts.
we all would. like Flesh Eater Courts used to be the Mortal Wound army. now they're not. And so it's just like they took away all the mortal wounds from FEC and gave them to Age of Sigmar, apparently. That's probably a little too strong, but it's just interesting to me that the top armies, even though they were cities, they didn't have like any Fusiliers in there. So maybe they're not quite as bad as we thought. I don't know.
They're really hit or miss. And I can give you kind of an anecdote from Kenrick and I played doubles.
Okay.
The very first game that we played, we played against a Cities of Sigmar KO hybrid army.
Oh my God.
So 1,000 points of KO, 1,000 points of cities. The cities guy took 30 Fusiliers as part of his 1,000 points, and an Alchemite Warforger, like the combo that everyone's thinking of. And the KO guy took the regiment or army of renown that allows you to shoot twice. And then we're on and then Kendrick and I were playing as Gits and Ogres, and the map that we're playing them on is ice fields. And we're like, okay, we're on ice fields where if we run or charge, we're taking mortal wounds. We're against KO and city shooting, and then like the double shooting for KO. This is going to be nuts. We're going to lose, basically. We actually ended up winning that game by a lot. And the reason is, as soon as you tie up that city's unit, those Fusiliers, it's a 30 block of dudes, right? It's actually really easy to tie them up without suffering unleash hell from like tons of shots. You can kind of just barely tag the unit if they have any screens whatsoever. And as long as you have them tied up, like the rest of your army can just advance. And that's kind of what the Boingrop Pounders did, right? They just like ran up the field, charged in, barely tagged the Fusiliers within like 3 inches, and the Fusiliers had to spend an entire turn just shooting off the Bounders, while the rest of our army just advanced up the board.
Yeah.
And things like that can really mess with a huge point sink like 30 Fusiliers. You can, other things can mess with it too. Like let's say you're playing against KB, and Cruel Boys have like Grin and Blades where you can't shoot them outside of 12 inches. You're playing against Ideneth where you have to shoot the closest thing. All of a sudden, there's these little things that can really mess with a massive point sink in your army. And that's why I feel like these players probably didn't take the 30 block of Fusiliers. But certainly it can be oppressive to like mid-board, like mid-tables, I think.
Yeah. That's kind of the issue, I guess, at the end of the day, right? Like I remember playing Eric Seraphon, and it was just like, like you don't see his army at top table, and the win rate on Seraphon isn't even that high, although I guess they don't split it up between Coalesced and Starborn, and that's a huge mistake because it's just skewing the numbers for both sides of the faction. But putting that aside, at the end of the day, you don't see them on top table. But I have played games against them. Like I played against his Starborn with Zeech, and I know I've said this before, but like I got hammered into the ground harder than I maybe ever have. Actually, no, the one thing I've been hammered even harder was also Eric. He was playing Archaon, and I took Gristle Gore, Flesh Eater Courts, and AoS 2. And I took all my Terrorgeist and I threw them into Archaon. But Archaon used to have this thing where all successful rerolls, hit rolls of 6, you have to reroll. And like that's all I do is I do something on 6s. And so it just nerfed. And I think he killed like 3 or 4 Terrorgeists in his first turn. But anyway, like the point is that like Zeech is supposed to be a magic army, and so I'm not supposed to, but yeah, he absolutely lit me up harder than I thought possible. And I kind of get it from both sides. It's like I can kind of see it from like the Starborn side, even though I don't play Starborn, but like I understand the army, right? Like I understand them kind of going like, our win percentage isn't actually out of pocket, and we're not winning events. So what's everyone so worked up about? But then I've also been the nail to the hammer. You know what I mean? And just been driven into the dirt. So yeah, it's kind of a, but I think I don't, but like the funny thing is though too, is it's like, if for the battle scroll, right? Like, so like they said they're going to take the LVO stats into account, right? There's no Fusiliers at top table, but there's a bunch of other stuff for cities. Like, what do they do? Do they adjust the Warforger? Is that?
I could see the Warforger being adjusted, especially because we saw that in Gavin Gregar's list, a Warforger is pretty oppressive with steam tanks too, because they're getting 3d6 shots at 12-inch range. So
that's a great point.
That's a lot. That's
That's
a
a
lot of
great
mortal
point.
wound output.
So
Um,
I think your thing is the best. Like, I think that's absolutely key. Pick a unit, and then I think we're all
or even
fine.
3 units. I could see that. But
Fair
a
enough.
bubble within 12 inches it's just too much, I think.
Yeah.
I'm worried though that they're going to kind of adjust it.
Pick D3 units.
I think they're going to over adjust it, to be honest, where they're going to be like,
I am too.
can't be used for shooting attacks, and you have to pick one unit or
Yeah.
something like that. Like
No, that's too much.
Yeah.
That's too much. They do this way too much. They overcorrect, and it's not good. Yeah.
yeah.
Kiki says
I also have a feeling that we're going to see some adjustments for the command corps. That was a source of a lot of salt for sure. Like online,
is that
people
because
talking
of,
about
is that because of the stealing the command points?
stealing the command points for sure. And then, as I said before, like technically right now, rules is written, you can pick a unit to be healed 3 times by
okay.
one command corp, which is a little oppressive.
That's something that literally just needs an FAQ, like any
Yeah.
of the millions of things in the Flesh Eater Courts book,
Yeah.
which we'll hopefully get. Kiki says, as a low mid table player, if I'm putting it kindly to myself, Starborn is rough. Yeah, it's, Kiki, I think it's like a mix of things. Like, I think, and you're referring to, he's referring to Starborn. I think Starborn is fine. I actually think it's fine. Just don't get mad at me yet, okay? Just hear me out. I think Starborn is fine. Unless you're facing someone who has Starborn and is like really good. You know what I mean? Like, Starborn in the hands of like someone who's not great at the game, it's actually fine. You know what I mean? Like, I've played both, and then you play against Eric, and he's been playing this army since AoS 2, and you know what I mean? He's got the whole background of, math going on in his head the whole time. And that becomes very oppressive. And like, it's not even just about like I'm not talking about your play. It can just be your army. Like, I had Zeech, and it was still crazy. You know what I mean? And again, you would think, yeah, Eric is a really good player. So if you're running into Eric, but then you might also run into someone who's just like, I like dinosaurs, and I like frogs, and I like dreamed magical lizards, and they're just like, this is my army, bro. You know what I mean? And then you'll curb stomp them. You'll be like, wow, that was, yeah. But
Yeah.
I
was actually going to bring up earlier.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I wanted to agree with what you said earlier and what Kiki just reiterated there. I hope they're not too hard on cities. I hope they just like always just do like too light a touch. Like, there's nothing that says you can't do an update to the battle scroll in 2 months. There's nothing that says that. So always a light touch. Sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, no worries. I was going to say, kind of like bouncing off of what you said earlier, that Seraphon win rate is actually not that high. And I think that's for 2 reasons, kind of. The reason number 1 is that, as you said, someone shows up and they say, I just want to play big dinosaurs. And Coalesced is kind of terrible right now.
Yep.
So
You say right now, but it was always terrible.
it was always terrible. Sorry, like, but in reference to the current win rate, it's kind of terrible.
Yeah.
So that definitely brings it down. Number two is that we have two very prevalent armies that are like shutting down Seraphon and any like magic damage heavy army in general.
Yeah.
And that's Null Myriad OBR is just an auto lose
Right.
to a lot of Seraphon players. Some Seraphon players can certainly work around it, and Eric is one of those people that have. They found holes in it.
Done it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he has done it. But if you run into a very good Null Myriad OBR player in a tournament, I'd say you'd be at a severe disadvantage as the Seraphon player.
Yeah.
And then the second one is Khorne, which isn't as much of a hard shutdown, but it is like still very difficult where you're splashing a lot of AoE mortals out. Not only does Khorne want to die for a lot of their units, they also actively benefit from ignoring your spells on a 5-up and getting a blood tithe. Because the more blood tithe they get, the more they can kind of just like pin you in your little castle, and it just becomes super hard to deal with.
And they can also shut down your magic after dying.
Auto dispel.
Yeah.
Yeah. They could say, I don't want that blizzard to happen.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more magic or more blood type you give them through magic, the more they can shut down your spells automatically too. So
yeah,
pretty rough.
It's true. And people, and I think what you're saying too, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like you're saying that like these counters to Seraphon exist. And so that's what's showing up in the stats. It doesn't mean that they don't need an adjustment. Is that correct?
Yes, but I would say the adjustment isn't actually on Seraphon. I think the adjustment is actually, and a lot of castle armies are being kind of carried by Blizzard. Right. It's because previously, you know, if Blizzard did not exist, you could run into a Seraphon castle. You're going to get blasted by Growth. You're going to get hurt by a decent amount of mortal wounds, but you're not having a nearly guaranteed 4d6 mortal wounds, just absolutely deleting one of your units off the board, right? Yeah. And I think that's kind of one of the things that is in this like whole balancing act of keeping the army oppressive to some people, because sometimes the reaction is like, oh, there's wizards over there and they're hurting me from afar. I have to run in there and kill them.
Yeah.
A Seraphon player that's really good is set up proper screenings so that you can't actually bust their castle in one turn, and they're just going to nuke you off the table with all of their spells and then Blizzard. And I think just taking that little bit of extra edge off with Blizzard would kind of make it less so.
It's true.
Yeah.
To be honest, what I hope they actually do with Seraphon is they just change like 1 or 2 Starborn rules. Like very light touches to Starborn rules. Don't change the points because the points affect everyone. You know, you don't want to make Skinks or a Slan untakeable in Coalesced. They're already not great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's certainly not easy. So with that in mind, we agree definitely Cities, right, is the number one faction that's most likely going to get adjusted, and we're all on the same page. If you're going to touch it, make it a very light touch. What's the next army you see getting a change?
Before we do that, sorry, I just want to address one comment. Kiki said, how do you beat Null Myriad with a magic damage heavy army? The key is that Catacross himself is sub-allegiance locked to not Null Myriad. I think it's like Petrifex Elite or something like that, or Pontifex. I can't remember what it is.
It's not Petrifex. It is the other one, Mortis Praetorians. I'm pretty
Mortis
sure.
Praetorians, yeah. That's right. And so because of that, he does not get the 2-up spell ignore, which normally isn't that big of a deal, but a lot of OBR players tend to run a Mortis Guard. And one of the rules for a Mortis Guard is that there is a mandatory wound pass off from heroes to a Mortis Guard. So even if those Mortis Guard are protected by Null Myriad, if they're getting a wound pass off, the damage source is no longer magic, so they don't get their 2-up ignore. So what happens is you focus all of your damage just into Catacross, and then he passes off that damage to all of the Immortus that are near him, and an OBR player that isn't quite prepared enough will suffer that, essentially, and it'll be really rough. Another thing, too, is that with Seraphon specifically, they tend to be summoning in Raptidon Chargers, which actually do a crazy amount of damage if they're touching an objective, and those can take care of the units that are outside of 3 inches of Catacross. So like if you've got your capitalist death riders that are touching points or something like that, you can just nuke them with the unit that you summon in, or like move twice or something like that. So there are ways around it for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the second prediction. The second army that I think is going to get touched, probably Caradron, is going to get a little bit of a points adjustment, and I hope it's a light touch too.
Yeah.
Just because it's kind of been the source of people complaining a lot lately. They've been rising up and up and up. So
And the squeaky
yeah,
wheel gets the grease.
yeah,
Yeah. Like what specifically what I don't want to happen is what happened to Gloomspite Gets. I love Spider Fang. I love Gets. They're one of my favorite armies to paint. They're so much fun to play and everything. And I got into them, like or back into them, I should say, like maybe 8 months before the new book came out. But then a lot of our clubmates got into Gloomspite Gets, and so it became like I stopped painting them once other people got into them, because it's like I'm not even getting to play them on the channel, so I might as well just focus on other things, for the channel. So, but they nerfed Gets too many times and changed rules and points and stuff like that, and they've done it with other armies in the past. FEC comes to mind, Skaven comes to mind, both of those in AoS too, obviously. But like it's really disappointing. So I hope they don't do to them what, to KO, to cities, to anything else we're going to mention. My number 2 pick, I think you're right. I think KO is a better pick than what I'm about to say. But I'm not going to pick KO for my second, just because I haven't played them enough to make like any kind of value judgment on what they need or deserve or anything like that, right? So my number 2 pick is going to be one of my armies, and it's going to be IDK. I think they're going to change the shark rule. I think they're going to nerf that and make it so that the sharks don't have exploding 6s on the shooting attack and or possibly the riders. I hope they just do the shooting attack, because it's not necessary, frankly. Like, I don't even think that the sharks are where the sauce is at in that army. But it is kind of like, it goes back to that whole thing of like, at mid table, if people just take a bunch of sharks and the other person doesn't know what they're doing, that army can be very rough, especially if the person gets a little bit lucky with their exploding 6s, which I have not yet in my practice games. Not a single time. I've gotten very unlucky with them. But yeah, that's my second pick. And
okay, interesting. Do you think that any other parts of the army are going to see buffs in addition to those nerfs?
I don't think so, because their win rate is high enough that they're not going to even look at it, which sucks. Because like it goes to what Ledivicus said. I saw it a second ago, and then I was like, I want to make sure it was the right person. Like when they were nerfing the crap out of squigs and trolls and everything else that they nerfed, like pretty much the whole army, they buffed Spider Fang a tiny bit, but they weren't even in the ballpark of making them like desirable to take, right? I think that's something we can pretty much all agree on. So with that in mind, like if they're going to nerf, like let's say they nerf sharks, right? I would love to see them buff the Soul Scryer, for example. Like give him more of a points decrease. Actually, absolutely the Tidecaster. The Tidecaster is way overpointed. Like you compare her to everything else, all the other spellcasters that I can think of in every other army, and she's so much worse. Like she brings nothing. So like stuff like that, right? Or Aspect of the Storm, Aspect of the Sea. Like they're still not great. There's so many things that
Beefy just mentioned that in the chat. Aspects need buffs for sure.
Yeah, the aspects, yeah. Yeah, like, and they never have been. Like, the Aspect of the Storm was good during I always forget what it was called. Forgotten Realms? Is that what it was? The
Forbidden Power?
Forbidden Power.
Or
Forbidden Power
oh no,
is the
you're
spells.
thinking about the books, the Broken Realms.
Broken Realms. Thank you. The Broken
Yeah.
Realms. They made the aspect of the storm like good, and then just because it was like good, not great, just good, and then like it was like, well, the book came out, so of course they have to flip the script. And that annoys me too. But there are a lot of shark lists. That's true. You dodged all of them.
I dodged them too. I was kind of surprised. I don't mind going against Withhand with my current ogres list or the
Yeah.
ogre list that I brought to LVO. I'm kind of cooking up a new ogre list that I'm thinking of like bringing to more and more tournaments. I'll try it out in RTT. That one I think it would suck to go into Withhand with, but yeah, we'll see.
You should just switch it up and just bring Slaves to Darkness, and then
There you go.
like, how hard would you laugh against sharks?
Yeah, that's true. It's
Right?
like everything I have is the 3-up save.
Yeah, exactly. Just
Have fun.
cool, bro. Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
just gonna
man.
stand on this point.
Yeah, exactly. And laugh. The laugh of the damned. Okay, third faction, Carson, because we do want to get 3 factions that need to be buffed.
Yes. Oh, so my third faction to be nerfed
Yes.
probably is going to be Big Wa.
Big
Um,
Wah.
So, like a lot of people think probably that Corn is going to be seeing some nerfs because they've got a pretty high win rate. I don't know that Corn actually really needs to be nerfed. I think Corn is in a pretty decent spot right now where they're quite good, but they're not oppressive.
Yep.
And when people go against them, they don't say, "Oh, this is an auto lose."
Yep.
Like it's a you have a chance in every Corn game. I feel like so.
I agree.
That's the reason why I'm not saying that. But with Big Wa, I think the thing that probably might be touched is the fact that they have such an easy track of battle tactics.
Right.
Because they've added those new easy battle tactics for Cruel Boys and Ironjaws. That I can't remember exactly which ones they were, but essentially
One
like
is super easy because it's
you're auto getting 5 battle tactics
right
essentially with Big Wa when you're including the GHB tactics as well.
Right.
And I have a feeling that that's going to change. Maybe they're going to like sub-faction lock it to say like you can only do this in a cruel if your general's a Cruel Boy or something like that, or if your general's an Ironjaw, something like that. I could definitely see that happening. Just because it kind of feels like every buff they give, like Ironjaws or Cruel Boys specifically, they're just making Big Wa even better. So it's like if you're truly competitively minded, you're probably gonna just run Big Wa anyway.
And there's such an easy fix to this too. It's just you can only use the Cruel Boys battle tactic when you take an Allegiance Cruel Boys army. Bam. You know, like that, that new one. I mean, because you don't want to nerf Cruel Boys who have been struggling this entire edition. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I think that's a super easy one. Khorne is a high skill cap army. That's true. Yeah. Nurgle needs a nerf. Really? In a list with a big... Huh. I actually haven't been seeing anything with Nurgle lately, so... I mean, I've seen them, like, out there, but I haven't seen, like, anything about their win rate or any of that jazz, so that's interesting. Yeah, I was thinking basically the same thing as you. I mean, and it is kind of just going by the stats a little bit. I hope they just, but again, I think, you know, as we go down, I want the nerfs to be even more, what's the word? Light. Like, Big Wa does not need much at all. And always never mess with points and rules at the same time. Yeah. You want it based on picked general, not on army rob. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I'm good with that too. I actually think either one of them works. And I wasn't referring to all of the battle tactics, Alex, because otherwise it would screw over everyone. I mean, just that new Cruel Boys one in particular, it's so easy to do. Because like you could just have one Cruel Boys unit in your entire army because you only need to bring the Cruel Boys units within 3 inches. So like you'll see in my in the next battle report that I have Kragnos in my army, so Kragnos doesn't need to be within 3 inches of terrain. And so it actually makes it better and easier when you don't take a Cruel Boys army. So I'm not even actually don't, for that one in particular, I don't agree. I actually think that that one should be Kruleboy's allegiance only, because it's just too easy otherwise. It like, it encourages you, that battle tactic encourages you to just have your, let's for example say your general and one unit of Kruleboys, or even just your general be a Kruleboy, and then everyone else isn't, and then everyone else doesn't need to be near terrain, if that makes sense, you know. Anyway, that's my little blurb on it. But the only thing that's the big bad in Nurgle right now is the Glotkin Plague Bearer Ripe Fart list, and it's strong. That sentence, Leviticus, is an insane thing to say. Like, the Ripe Fart list.
Yeah.
What?
That was my game 5 at Kippers, actually.
Really?
In addition to a Bellicor, which was kind of interesting.
Okay.
That was also my game 3 or 4 at the World Championships, and I think once the Glotkin and Plague Bearer spam is kind of one of those armies that, like, once you figured it out, it's really not that bad. You just have to be intimately familiar with how the Ripe Fart actually functions. Yeah. And the way that it functions is essentially like your units that are within 3 inches of a Nurgle demon already cannot pile in if they're affected by the Ripe Fart thing. But let's say you have like a conga line of dudes.
I thought the Ripe Fart was from the Bile Piper or the.
It is. So the Bile Piper affects all Nurgle demons or maybe Plague Bearers within 14 inches.
Okay. Yeah.
And basically what it says is units that are, or models that are within 3 inches, or sorry, models cannot finish a pile-in move within or closer, essentially. I can't remember the exact wording, but I know that the result is essentially that, like, if you have a model that's actually outside of 3 inches, it can pile in like normal, as fast as you want. So if you have a model that's 3.1 inches away,
yeah,
even if the unit has something that's within 3 inches of a Nurgle demon, you can still pile in that model. It's 3 inches and smack, and you're fine. Okay. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people interpret it as, I can't pile in my unit at all, which is incorrect.
Okay.
So one of the ways that you get around it is that, like, if you have one model within like 3 inches and they're like just barely tagged, yeah, the rest of your unit can pile in and smack no problem. So if you have an army that has like 2-inch reach or something like that, it's actually not really that big of a deal. So once you kind of realize that, it's not too bad. Another thing as well is that the Glutkin is only so big, and you have to be within 12 inches of him for him to like issue the counter charge thing in your movement phase.
Yeah. Just
get out your 12-inch sticks, right? He's not going to have like a line of Plague Bearers like just around the Glutkin so that you have to make 11-inch charges. Like, there's going to be a line further out, and you can kind of converge in on the Glutkin. Nurgle is not going to alpha you down in any turn. They're just looking to essentially like attrition you down. So you can certainly get around it.
Interesting. That definitely seems like a real like matchup knowledge kind of thing. I guess you've been fortunate to play with Matthias because he was playing a lot of Nurgle.
Yes.
And get the ins and outs. That's really cool. Carson is explaining farts right now. He is, in a way.
Yeah.
I see. So it's maybe they could clean up that rule though and make it more intuitive,
that would be nice,
you know. Yeah because like I feel like even after you explained it very thoroughly, I would have to like look at it again, you know what I mean, reread it and kind of be in the situation to a certain extent to just kind of to fully wrap my head around it.
The very basic Cliff Note version is that if a model is outside of 3 at the start of its pile-in move, it can pile in like normal. If models are inside of 3, they can't pile in.
Yeah, I can see that being an issue for sure. The Glotkin's always been kind of an NPE, and I guess that could be in certain circumstances, especially if it's, you know, being played wrong or whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's very interesting. I wasn't aware of the issues with that. Oh, okay. Top 3 factions that need to be buffed.
What was your number 3 nerf?
Oh no, I just agree with you. That was what I was going
Oh,
to
you
say.
disagree with me? Okay, copycat.
Unfortunately.
Actions that need to be
No,
buffed.
no. I just want to say, I actually think we should be. I think it should be an option for us to just pick. Like, spoiler alert, my first pick, the thing that needs the most. I'm going to say, like, it doesn't have to be. You don't have to pick an entire army. Like, I'm going to say, and I was always going to say this, Spiderfang. Spiderfang and a little bit of just Gits in general. Like, I would like to see them undo some of the points changes they made to a couple of the squig units. And I think the Mangler squig and the hero on Mangler squig both need like a significant decrease. And but especially Spiderfang. Most of all Spiderfang. I want to see them change that. I would like to see them on the table. Spiderfang have always been popular, even when they're not strong, and it's what got me kind of into the army again, and what got me into the army in the first place is I like spiders. So buff spiders and give us that spider unit, whatever that model that we still haven't seen. Remember the one with a spider face? Cut off your nose to spider face?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my first pick. Is Spiderfang
Okay.
and a little bit of Gloomspite Gits in general.
Okay. If we're following the trend of like what's going to get most buffed to what's going to get least buffed,
Yeah.
that's like our top 3 essentially. So
Yeah.
my most buffed thing is going to be Nighthaunt has reached terminal velocity. I think they're in a absolute plummet to the bottom as far as points go.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see some Nighthaunt buffs purely for points. I don't know if they're going to change any rules, and they're gonna win the race to the bottom is what I think it's going to be.
Yeah, it's kind of what happened to Skaven a little bit with the Screaming Bell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's a great pick. I don't, I wasn't even like, I was gonna look up the stats, but I didn't want to like look up the stats and then just pick the bottom 3. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
Nighthaunt need are bad. And what's funny about Nighthaunt is I remember when they came out, everyone's like, Nighthaunt's gonna be OP, bro. Like they are gonna be super super good, and they're just gonna be like the best army ever. And then they did do like a very minor nerf on a couple of units and increase their points, but they also buffed some other stuff. And it just turns out everyone was super wrong. You know what I mean? Like, actually, I was talking to Will after the battle report the other day, and Nighthaunt, he sold his Nighthaunt army just because of all the bookkeeping and stuff. With like all the different effects for after you make a charge. And I was saying, well, they give you those cool tokens, and he's just like, it's too much bookkeeping. It's not fun. It's kind of NPE and blah blah blah. And he's just like, I'm done. And I was like, fair. Like they're one of those armies that's very popular though. Like aesthetically and everything else. Yeah, Nighthaunt's a great pick. That's a great pick. I like it. I like it a lot.
What's your pick number 2?
Okay, this is gonna sound crazy. Okay. But I think, and again, I'm specifically not just going with the bottom. I'm trying to like be a little creative with it. Okay, at the same time, because I don't want to just pick the statistically worst armies. I'm gonna say, hear me out, everyone. Soulblight Gravelords. Now, just wait. I'm going to specifically, again, I'm picking a sub-faction. I'm going to specifically say Castelli. And I'm going to specifically say Castelli units and like Blood Knights and that kind of thing. And also Virkos a little bit. I would like to see like some minor buffs on that would help them do okay. Like, I think that they got a bit of a, like, I think the same thing happened to them that happened to Gits, where they just kind of GW, people just they scream and they go all crazy, but like, I think they just kind of over nerfed them a little bit. And I don't want to I don't want to see them undo some of what they've done, because like zombies are still like a problem, right? But I don't know. I don't like it when they overdo stuff. So I'm gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna say Castlight, because Castlight were never good. They've always been bad in their third book, and I would love to see them get so a little bit of help, and then maybe we'll start seeing some Castelli lists on the table. I would like that. That's my final answer.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I for my number two, I really wanted to pick Sylvaneth because we're really hurting right now. But I feel like I don't know, something says to me that Sylvaneth, like GW, has kind of realized that this GHB just does not serve them well,
Yeah.
and points changes are not going to be the right answer to fixing them until like fourth comes out, essentially. So I feel like they're going to be in the dumps until then. So my answer is also kind of in the same vein as yours.
Okay.
But it's going to be everything except Null Myriad OBR.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think that we kind of saw it with the Mortek Guard. We didn't quite see it catch on.
Right.
I'm thinking that Mortek Guard are going to get yet another points decrease.
Wow.
In a race to the bottom as well.
Oh my god, that's scary.
That's
scary.
Pure speculation, but
I do hope you're wrong. OBR, because when they just go a little too far with them, they just become the most NPE thing ever. And I am scarred from playing Ryan in AoS 2 OBR, so I am biased. I'll fully say I am biased. That's true. Actually, Bahamut makes a good point. Soulblight we're about to get like a bunch of changes in Dawnbringers. You know what?
that's true.
Bahamut, I'm retracting my Soulblight, which is good because I had two other factions that I wanted to talk about. And one of them is the opposite of what Kiki said. I know he's joking, but he said buff Starborn, nerf Coalesced. I'm saying the opposite of that. I think Coalesced, like, they're probably, if you look them up, I think they're probably one of the worst factions in the game. If you looked them up with separate stats, they're so bad. They don't do any damage. They're very unreliable. They survive okay. Like, they survive okay, but like, you know, +1 to your save on an objective isn't nearly as good as just having a 3-up save. And it's not even close, frankly. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I would like to see Coalesced. That's my number 2 pick. It's Coalesced. Yeah. Buff.
And what's your number 3 pick?
My number 3 pick. Okay, fine. My number 3 pick was okay, so originally I was going to talk about FEC because I think parts of that book I really need the new book. Actually really need it, but it's so untested, it's not fair. But like some of that stuff is so poopy, dude. It's like Terrorgeist and like, oh man, there's so much of that book is just poopy on a stick. But you inspired me. I'm picking Sylvaneth. I'm actually going back to the stats on this one. And even though, like, when you started to hedge, when you started to go the other way with it, I was thinking about Andy, right? And I played Andy's list, and he's rocking a bunch of Kurnoth Hunters and Belthanos, not in the Army of Renown, just like, you know, basically his old list, but he added Belthanos. And my God, that army is insane. And I played him with the new FEC, and yes, I was playing Blisterskin, and yes, I realized Blisterskin aren't great, and the whole army doesn't have a lot of rend, and so maybe Sylvaneth isn't a great matchup for them in general, but I'm still saying I would love to see them buff some of the stuff that we don't see, like we've never seen. Like, and I know some people rock them, like Sean, you know, he was rocking like a big unit of 10. I'm blanking on the name. The guys that fire and run away. I can't come up with them, but you know what I mean. Like
Gods Messengers?
What's that?
The Gossamer Archers?
Gossamer
Or is
Archers.
it?
That's it. That's it. That's the one. Gossamer Archers, like that kind of thing. A lot of that book is very unexplored. Like even just Tree Lords, that kind of thing. I would love to just see like a general buffing. Oh, the Kurnoth Hunters with bows. They're so bad, and like they're particularly bad in this GHB. They should always be hitting on 3s. It's so dumb. Like they've always been hitting on 4s since the beginning, and I don't know who at GW is just like, no, bro. Anyway, that's my final pick. What's your final pick?
My final pick has a bit of a story behind it. They said that they're going to be doing this battle scroll with LVO in mind, stats from it anyway.
Right.
I have a feeling that just alongside Nighthaunt, Stormcast was also at terminal velocity, falling to the bottom.
That's true.
But I feel like they saw, oh god, Murgok got into the top 8 with his Stormcast list. We saw some Annihilator spam, some Vexilers.
Yep.
I think that Stormcast is going to get a buff, but a very just like light touch. I think it was going to be like all green like we saw last Battle Scroll.
Right.
But I think they're going to get just a couple things here and there, which is why it's number 3 for me. Otherwise, it would have been like number 2 or number 1, probably.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. When going into LVO, I was like, yeah, Stormcast are, like surprisingly represented, but then I was kind of going like, good for them for taking them. I don't see them doing that well, but then we did see them do well. And yeah, the problem with Stormcast is that they have so many war scrolls. So it's like, if they do that race to the bottom thing, they could quickly become completely oppressive. Because like, look what we saw with the Screaming Bell. It was so bad, right? It's like quintessential bad war scroll. And then they hit that, the sweet spot. They jumped the shark, and now you're seeing like 3 of them in a list. And it's like, what happened here, guys? Like, something went wrong. And it always comes down to them changing points and rules at the same time, and that's what happened here too. Like, they clearly should have left the points where it is, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them change the points back on the Screaming Bell specifically. But that's the only list that's doing well for Skaven. I don't think they're going to touch Skaven. But yeah, Stormcast is an interesting one. The problem is they have so many war scrolls. It's, I don't know, I kind of hope they don't change anything on Stormcast. And it's nothing to do with like or dislike of the army or whatever. It's purely just because like if they do, like, let's say they do, like, they pull a Screaming Bell on 3 Stormcast scrolls, then all of a sudden, like, they're like, you know what I mean? Like, Skaven went to, like, they got second place at the World WCW. So like, what would happen if they do that on 3 or even more war scrolls for Stormcast? You know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm a little worried about. But
yeah, and there's definitely some stuff there for Stormcast for sure. Like, race to the bottom, nobody wins. I feel like,
yeah,
because you just get spam lists when that's the case, which kind of sucks.
And I mean, like, there are some safe things out there that they could buff, like Karazai and Krondis. Like, drop another 50 points off of them, that's fine. Like, I guarantee that's fine. But most of it, like, they're already kind of on the cusp. Like, Annihilators, like, don't touch Annihilators. They're fine. Don't touch Fulminators. You know what I mean? Right? Like, yeah.
Yeah. Vexilers. Someone popping on the board with, like,
yeah,
3 or 4 or 5 of those things.
Exactly. Exactly.
Bad time.
I like how Ludivicus says, for my final pick, nerf Carson. They just need to take like half an inch off each side of his mustache. He said half an inch, Carson. You're covering at least an inch there. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, you know what's funny, Ludivicus, is in our group chat, they were literally like, the jokes have been like, just nerf Carson's, like, Carson. Like, his list, like what was it? What were people saying? Like 150 points for Noblars, but they come in 10s instead of 20s or something, just for you. And I forget what else. Really funny stuff. They turned SC.
Which is funny
into
because,
a
like,
horde
nowhere
army?
else.
Sorry. What was that? That's such a good comment.
nowhere else are people calling for nerfs to ogres. I feel like, except in that group chat.
Except in that group. Yeah, and they do it out of love and respect. Probably not. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we don't want to actually nerf you by saying nice things about you. Um, what was it? Oh yeah, yeah, and Alex brings up the FAQ again, like which he does on a daily basis. But I appreciate that because he's right. Like I don't remember. I think the last time I saw a book that had that many FAQ questions was Skaven, and I think this one has way more. And what's crazy too is like FEC, the new book doesn't seem to be doing all like that well. It does against certain armies that don't have the output because then the recursion just becomes crazy. But but it's funny because like most people can't seem to agree on what the ruling should be, even though some of it's actually pretty clear. But you know, a lot of people don't understand the basic rules of the game, and you know, there's definitely a reading comprehension issue in the community at times. But some of it, like it seems clear which way it's going to come down, but we don't know because the FAQs are always a coin toss. Even the super obvious ones, the ones that we're like sure about, they're just like, nope, we're definitely not doing that. But yeah, there's so many questions in there that need to be answered. So hopefully that'll come out with the battle scroll. But I assume it'll probably come out with the army in February, right? Watch him roll 16-inch charges. The length of his mustache was slowing him down. There's a lot more wind drag on your mustache than anywhere else on your body. I think we can all agree with that. Unless you start wearing like some kind of...
We've got the mustache here, and then neck down, it's smooth as a dolphin. Just nothing. Nothing at all.
Way too much information. The stream is over.
Yeah. I do want to kind of like address one thing though, because we've gone through our top 3, bottom 3 for nerfs and buffs for the battle scroll.
Yep.
Our new friend Kyle in the chat did ask immediately after Leviticus asked that what our predictions for 4.0 are going to bring, which is another talking point that we can kind of go over if you want as well.
Right.
But yeah, at least one prediction maybe. Do you have any?
For 4.0? I mean, I've said it before, right? He's out. No, don't we? We're switching the topic, I swear. I swear to the Great Horned Rat. I've said this before, and so like I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. Okay, you're back. Good.
We got it. Secured.
So the thing that I always say, so I'll give another one if we want, because I always say this, and I don't want people to get annoyed that I always say the same thing. But it's that we're gonna go from like measuring our melee attack distance to like just attacking 2 deep, and then like some units like with spears, for example, will be able to attack 3 deep or something like that. It's the clear answer, in my opinion. Base size matters way too much when you're measuring your attack distance. And they've done a good job of like even flayers are on 2-inch attack distance now, but there's still some leftovers, and it just sucks. It would be a great quality of life change to not have to measure our attack distance. So that's my main pick, but I can think of another one if we want.
Okay. I'm going to steal one of yours from the past.
Please.
And you've convinced me that it's going to be an index edition, and I can't wait.
Me too.
It's going to be fantastic.
Me too.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I literally can't wait. I love when we go back to index. I know it can be hard on people's wallets. Like for a lot of people, they've had armies for a really long time now. And then when we go back to index, it's like, this sucks. I got to spend like $60 on a new book. And that alone to them is a big deal. But, but hopefully they can kind of see it half full. And like, let's say we're going back to index and, and money is an issue for you. Don't buy it. You don't have to buy it. Like you can get the information from your friends off the internet. You can photocopy stuff. You can borrow books, but but indexes are so much fun. It's just the Wild West, and it like for the Johnnies out there, my God, it's our time. It's like I am definitely a Timmy, but I am also a Johnny. Like that Spike is the least thing I identify with. I like making lists. Like I just remember that list I sent you, the Hollowmorn list that we were like, this is it, right? It's very different now. I've changed it
Okay.
again. Yeah, because I
Can
found
you?
three more
Okay.
flares, or not flares, horrors. Anyway, sorry. That's
Right.
a
Yeah.
digression.
Can you define Timmy and Johnny for me
Certainly,
and for the audience?
for certainly, yes. So that whole thing comes from Magic the Gathering, right? And it's the psychographic profile of that as defined in Magic the Gathering, and you can kind of look it up. And the main ones that we usually use in Age of Sigmar and wargaming is Timmy, Johnny, and Spike. Johnny is about kind of expressing your intelligence through your list, your and like how you make it. And so Johnny likes to do tricky things, and I'm paraphrasing, like I'm not reading off of anything. Like this is as I understand it, and maybe I've got a little bit of my own kind of way of thinking about it. But they like to express their intelligence, and it's basically they like to do something different. They don't net list. They tend to come up with something original. They like to play something different, that kind of thing. Timmy is about big things happening. They want things to die, things to kill other things. They like big combos. They tend to be gamblers. Like so for example, like a Johnny army would be corn. Movement shenanigans, sacrificing stuff, like pawns and whatnot, so that you can do other things and combos, and they tend to be tricky, and they tend to like to do complicated stuff. A Timmy army would be like all monster trucks and ogres, or like Kragnos and like whatever. It tends to be lean into destruction. Funny enough. And then the last one is Spike. Spike. A lot of people kind of get Spike wrong. Spike likes to win, and so Spike, it's like people think that they tend to be more, they tend to be more like win at all costs and that kind of thing. That guy, you know, whack players in general, and there probably is a statistical truth to that on some level, just because like if you don't care, the less you care about winning, the less likely you probably are to do something like that. But that's not what it means to be a Spike in any way, shape, or form. And like the most Spike person that I know of, that I can think of, actually both of them are two of the least likely players that I know of to cheat. And they tend to do a lot of like they do tend to net list because they're looking for the statistical advantage on stuff, and yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And then you've got Vorthos and Melvins, and I've seen some people try to convert them over from Magic the Gathering to Age of Sigmar, and it doesn't really work well. Like I guess I'm also I'm a whatever it is, Vorthos or whatever, because I really like the lore, and so like I don't tend to take, for example, Plague Monks. Even when Plague Monks were the best thing in all of Skaven in AoS 2, I didn't take a single Plague Monk because I don't like Pestilence. I'm not into their lore, but I do like the other ones, so like I would take them, for example. Yeah, and then what was it? Oh no, sorry, maybe that's Melvin. And then Vorthos is like aesthetic. It applies to the card art in Magic the Gathering. So people were like, it just applies to whatever models they like the most, like whatever they think are the coolest looking models. People tend to take and put them on the. I mean, I guess, but we're all kind of like that to a certain extent. I don't know that it really applies to AOS. Yeah, did that help?
That's cool. I've never actually heard the direct definitions of them, so I really appreciate you going over them.
Oh yeah,
So,
absolutely. I
yeah.
mean, you like, and even if you do hear them in, like, they do mean little different things in Magic the Gathering than they do in AOS anyway. So even some people who may have already heard the terms, who came over from Magic the Gathering It might be a little different, but that's how we
Yeah.
generally.
We also missed a question. Sorry.
Sorry.
Kyle says, what does index mean? So index is usually when an edition resets. All of the previous battle tomes are just, don't worry about them anymore. Essentially what you get is like one big collection of rules that applies to everyone. So like you'll have new definitions for like what do ogres do, what does Sylvaneth do, what does Skaven do, and this is just like publicly available. Usually you can see everything.
It does vary though. Like the old world is not. It's not like public. It's not free.
Right.
And
yeah,
like
but the core
edition...
thing is that there isn't a specific battle tome that describes what your army does.
Exactly.
It's just like a big collection of maybe like destruction armies or something like that.
That's probably what it'll be.
And it's generally like a reset. It's more vague than it is specific. So
indeed, it'll probably like usually what it means in wargaming is what it's meant in AoS 1 and what it meant in 40k 8th edition and to a lesser extent in 10th edition, whereas you get like you'll get like if they sell a book, then it'll be like a thick book, and it'll be like for 40k 8th edition it was like Imperium of Man or something like that, and then it was like Xenos, and so AoS will probably be grouped like it was in AoS 1, where it's like Order is this giant freaking book because there's more Order armies than anything. I hope that they do PDFs just because I feel like that's where the industry is going, and I actually think it will help them in the long run, and it helps their PR too, right? Because it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's so hard to justify buying an index, and then basically, like, let's, for example, say that Skaven and Stormcast are in the starter set for AoS 4. Everyone will be on an index, including Skaven and Stormcast. And you'll get, like, a couple of, like, minor allegiance abilities. Maybe if we're lucky, you'll get a couple of artifacts and a command trait or something like that. And then it's just War Scrolls, right? You probably won't get any sub-allegiance abilities or anything like that. And then the first armies that get books will still get books. They will come for sure, because that's one of the main ways GW makes money. And then we'll get, like the Skaven and Stormcast will probably be the first books because they're in the starter set. But yeah, it's funny because every time we reference the indexes coming out and going back to index and whatnot, there's always someone asking. So thank you so much for asking, Kyle, because we really should get into the habit of just kind of quickly explaining them maybe each time we reference it on a new show. But yeah, it's hard to explain though, right? Because like they're not always the same.
Not always, but I feel like there's still a general concept that you can explain it with, right?
Right.
It's just that like all of the rules are grouped together. No one has a specific battle tome.
Right.
That's the big thing.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Kyle also says, I'm too new to have any idea if I'd like that. In general, would a lot of players welcome it? No. I feel like a lot of people would hate it. And the reason why they hate it is because there's a certain level of comfort with you have your battle tome, you know all of the rules, you're used to it. With an index, everything is changing, right?
Yeah.
They're kind of like redefining. And as Maballs said, they usually do an index edition when they change the rules so that the war scroll stats no longer work.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of having to relearn things. So change is bad in a lot of people's minds. And then another thing that is bad in a lot of people's minds is that I bought this battle tome and now it's just wasted paper, which is fair,
Yep.
But as soon as the first FAQ comes out and the first points change comes out, that's kind of the case anyway. Like you can't rely on just the paper that you have. Like if someone showed me their battle tome and said, look, it says this, and I knew that their battle tome was at least a year old, I'd be like, cool, but let's see what it says in the app. Like, because that's the most up-to-date version, or let's check the FAQs, that sort of thing. So as a new player, I think it's probably going to be easier for you to digest if you haven't had the chance to really know everyone else's battle tomes, because it kind of gives you an opportunity to explore everyone's rules while they're still vague. And then chances are when they make a battle tome For fourth edition for that army, it's probably going to be somewhat inferred on like what the index version of that army was. So it'll be easier to kind of transition your knowledge of the army to that. Hopefully.
Right. Also, like, and this won't translate for everyone, but if you're not sure what kind of person you are, you can kind of, because, Kyle, I think you said you came from 40K. So you might like kind of know from 40K, even if you don't know an AoS. Are you the kind of person who's just like, hey, like, what's the established thing for that works for my army? Like, I don't know what army you play, but like, let's say, like I see that all the time because I help manage the Skaven Facebook page, and it's like we just see people all the time like, okay, what's the scoot on clan rats? Okay, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. That was someone else. What's the scoot on clan rats? Are they good? You know what I mean? Or are you the type of person to be like, for other people to be like, you need to know about clan rats, and then for you to be like, shut up. I don't care what the deal is with clan rats. I've got an idea, and I don't want to know about your stupid little theory of clan rats. Like, I don't care if the statistical advantage is on clan rats. I am doing all gutter runners, and because I have an idea. I read a thing in my book, and I think I know what to do. So it really is a psychographic thing, and as Ledivicus said earlier, they're very polarizing. I think he's probably right and we're probably wrong when we said like generally people don't like it. I think it might be like rain, where, you know what I mean? Everyone's just like, when it's hot out, everyone's like, lovely weather we're having. And then all the people that secretly like rain, like me, we just don't say anything. But then on the odd time where you're just like, this rain is fucking awesome, right? Dang it, I swear. This rain is kind of awesome, right? And then like if you start saying stuff like that, like what you think is an unpopular opinion, you might be surprised how often people are like, I love rain. I can't believe I just met someone else who loves rain. But everyone just thinks no one likes rain. And it's just not actually true, because a lot of us just don't like the heat, I don't know if that makes sense, but
you say that, but in our specific area of the world, it rains like most of the time. I would say
it does.
Super rainy, and I always make the joke when I'm at like the dog park or something, and it's just like,
cats and dogs.
pardon my French, pissing rain,
Yeah.
like outside. I always make the joke like, oh, lovely weather we're having, and then I always get the same like quasi lecture of just like, well, actually, it's really good that we're getting rain right now, and I think you should be. And it's like, okay, like,
yeah,
it was a joke.
Exactly. It's true though, because it's like everyone. Like, I used to think the same thing too, because like my brother doesn't like rain, right? And so he always complains about the rain. And then, but what I kind of realize is that a lot of people live here because they don't mind it or kind of like the rain, or they like temperate weather in general. And so there's a weird amount of people around here that don't mind it. Don't worry, when they make new tomes after an index, Rob, the hype will let you know what stuff does. Yeah, I don't care. Like, I'm one of those people where like everyone's talking about Hollowmorn, and I'm just like, no. It's blister skin. Trust me, guys. And then I played a bunch of games with blister skin, and I got my rear end stomped in all of them but one. And I'm like, maybe they were onto something. But I still want to make blister skin work. But I did start building crypt horrors recently, so.
Yeah. I guess a question for the chat then. What is Rob in reference to like Timmy, Johnny, Melvin, etc.? And then what am I? Oh, I just knocked over a bottle.
Okay. Okay.
What? Oh, did you not hear it? Okay, sorry. We're all good. I just dropped on the ground.
Okay.
What is each of us? If you guys have an answer in the chat.
It's true. I mean, I think most people kind of know where they are, but I think they do tend to be a little wrong. And sometimes, depending on their level of delusion, or whatever, lack of self-awareness, perhaps, you know what I mean? They tend to be like either a little or a lot off. Most people don't cop to being a spike. And I love it. I love it. I love a self-aware spike. Nothing makes me happier. Like Veronica, she's just like, I want to win. Like, I don't know what you losers are doing over here. I want to win and I want to kill things. So she definitely has, she's mostly a spike and she's just like, I'm a spike. Like, that's what I do. I want to win. I don't, you know, like, I don't know what the point is of playing if you're not trying to win. I love that. Yeah. Oh man, if you guys don't know, Alex is referencing, I don't even want to like read his thing out just so, but like, so Carson made his own ogre list. He defined like his own thing and it is very much his list. And there's a certain channel which will remain nameless, or actually several channels probably, that are just like, yeah, that's the list that like everyone plays that list. No, Carson made that ogre's list. It's his list. I mean, his list. You know what I mean? But he made it, and he was the one who kind of brought it out and started doing stuff with it. But yeah,
I kind of want to set the record straight on that, actually.
Okay.
So the first time I brought ogres to a tournament was Cake or Death 2023.
That's true.
And that was my first GT ever. And what I brought was essentially the culmination of what I had painted for ogres, which just so happened to be 2 units of Iron Guts, 2 units of Gluttons, a Butcher, and a Frost Lord. And I think that was it. Oh, and a Tyrant as well.
Okay.
And it just so happened to be like the combined arms list that like almost kind of worked. And it was by accident completely.
Okay.
On the ride home, the person who gave me the Firebelly idea was not, it wasn't me that brought it up. It was Roman who brought up the Firebelly.
Oh, interesting.
And I was like, oh, that's an interesting idea. And then I tried it out and it's been a staple of the list ever since. Then, before the US Open Tacoma, I magically got 1 Noblar unit worth of points in a buff to Ogre Mod Tribes. I was like, sure, I'd like a screen. Right. So that's what I brought to Tacoma, was basically just like Noblar's Firebelly, a Butcher, a Frost Lord, and then 2 and 2, and then an Iron Blaster. And then just like kind of tweaking that as time went on, like this almost feels like it was purely by accident, just based on like what I had painted and then like small suggestions that people had made. So I don't take responsibility for, or I don't take ownership of this list whatsoever.
Okay.
It just kind of happened.
Blah, 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 blah. Shut up. He's far too modest. You were playing them on the channel before that and workshopping every sub-faction, trying stuff out, and you were painting stuff that you like. Sure, you're an eclectic painter, but the joke, like, the joke is that Carson copied that list off of someone. You didn't copy it off of. That's the point I'm trying to make. So shut up. Sit down and shut up. That's what Ken says. That's what Ken says when he does his Super 3 in Street Fighter 6. That's why. I'm referencing randomly for no reason other than I like fighting games. If they AoS 1 to AoS 2, then that's fine, where they only just redid War Scrolls to have a modern rules, like no more 6+ to hit. So I don't think that that's going to be the case, though. I think because like Carson said, like, or no, it wasn't. Who said that they often do it because when the War Scroll doesn't work anymore with the new rules.
That was
who?
My balls. That was my balls.
I think your mic cut out.
Sorry, my mic just automatically muted itself as I tried to. It was like abort. Don't say that name.
Yeah, it's self. It's self. What do you call it? Bleeped you.
Self-aware.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at the chat and I was like, okay, don't keep us in suspense. It's not that interesting. Oh, that's crazy. But yeah, so I mean, like that's. I don't see that. I think more is changing than. I think it's going to be more than AoS 1 to AoS 2. I think the better comparison is almost certainly going to be 40k 9th to 40k 10th. Like, I think, unfortunately, I think they're going to get rid of the magic phase. That's my second call I'm making for AoS 4. They even did it in the old world. Like, that's crazy, right? Like, because those people, like, they don't like change. Like, it's established. That's why they're not playing AoS, which I think we all agree is a better game. Like, you know what I mean? It's way more popular, right? And I did try out the old
John?
world, by the way, and we were planning on doing an old world show, but Carson and I, you know, we don't both play it, and so we would need another person to kind of really get into it. And yeah, so anyway, but
Yeah. Full disclosure, that mostly comes from me. Like I don't have a particular interest in the old world. If we were to do a show about it, I'd be happy to like chime in with whatever thoughts I had if they were being like presented to me. But I don't. I just don't have a big interest in it, and I also don't think that I'm looking to like buy an entire new system at the moment.
spread it. Yeah,
That's
and you
yeah.
are a tournament player, so like you would probably worry about spreading yourself too thin and like that kind of thing. So yeah, especially with anyway. Um, nice, hell yeah, Beefy. That would be sweet. We could totally do that.
That'd be cool.
I've only
Yeah.
played. I've
I'll
only
just sit
played.
here with my mic muted the entire time and just go.
Yeah, yeah. It would be cool. Like, I mean, I do have some like local fans of it. Even we could even just do like a separate. Anyway, sorry, I did want to. So like you asked them to define it. Ladivicus says Rob is predominantly Timmy with Johnny vibes. Carson is a Johnny Spike hybrid. That's interesting. Yeah, I'm definitely so like. One thing I would like to say is I am different in battle reports than I am just playing a normal game. You know what I mean? I think but I mean, but how else could they define my character other than what they've seen? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like on the channel, I think you nailed it. I think I am a Timmy with Johnny vibes. And then when I'm not on the channel, when I'm helping people prepare, when I'm figuring out what's good for my army and I'm not on camera, I'm probably like the inversion of that, where I'm like I just want to like figure out a cool combo. I don't want to do what other people are doing if possible. I only do that when I happen to really like the units. You know what I mean? Like when they're a pet unit. Like if flayers were the meta and not horrors, I would be like, damn it, I'm doing what everyone else is doing. That sucks. You know? So Spike can also want to be the best, not win. Totally. Yes. I don't know. Yes, that's absolutely true. And that's a good point because like spikes don't tend, they actually like, I just want to underline that they don't tend to cheat. And like all the spikes that I know are not cheaters at all. Like they're definitely not.
Yep.
So yeah, they want to be the best, you know? Yeah.
I personally view myself as somewhere between Spike and Timmy, as opposed to Spike and Johnny, but I could be completely wrong about that.
That's interesting. I think I would have, I think I would have probably defined you. Maybe you're just like kind of in the, like, maybe you're like, what, like 40%. I'm not putting, like, I'm not saying this, right? I'm just like throwing it out there. Like maybe you're like 40%
Yep.
Spike and then a mix between Johnny and Timmy for the rest. 40,
Yeah,
30,
there's
30.
definitely a little bit of Timmy in there because my game that I lost at LVO
Yeah.
and arguably at WCW as well, the first game each,
Yeah.
I said the sentence, I know I should be reserved right now, but I'm getting bored and I want to charge you.
Yeah.
So there's only so long an ogre player can be like reserved. And I'm just like, you know what? Against my best interests, we're going in. We're
Yeah.
gonna see what happens.
That's
Yeah.
true. You have done that actually in quite a few. Maybe you're more Timmy than Spike even then. Because like if you wanted to win more than anything else, right?
I would never do that.
You would never do that.
Never. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a moment in that battle report, in the upcoming battle report, where I do this, like it's actually way worse than that, right? But again, it's a battle report, so it's supposed to be entertaining. That's the idea anyway. So would armies lose their special rules and such, or would they keep those? So they'll probably get like a couple of rules, John. Like, let's see. Like for example, you would lose, or maybe you could better do that with, because I was trying to use Skaven, but Skaven have so many allegiance abilities. Oh, here we go. So like Deepkin, right? You've got the Asharan rituals. You've got sub allegiances like Fuithen and you know all the rest, right? But they'll probably lose all of that, and then they'll probably have like Forgotten Nightmares, and maybe if we're lucky, if there's like a little more than average, then we might get like the Tides, but probably not. I'd say we probably get like Forgotten Nightmares, and then you know, and then maybe like one or two spells, and then that's like it's usually like the allegiance abilities can fit on like I would say like what, half a page, Carson? Like all the army rules.
It's usually a full page, I feel like.
Yeah,
Leading
maybe you're
abilities.
right.
Like
Maybe you're
it's
right.
usually one entire page. And then there's some armies that are outliers like City of Sigmar where they have to be like, we've got orders, and they do an additional page for that, but it's usually a page, I think.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. It you know, it really depends on the edition and the game that we're talking about. Like 8th edition 40k. Yeah, it was about a page actually. Now that I think about it, I think it was like about a page. But like AoS 1 had like no allegiance abilities. Yeah. So it could go any which way. But like I think we're probably thinking about a page.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see them condensing all of the special rules, to a page. And then or maybe even less, but and then again, I guess like what's the difference then between an index, unless it's just index and a battle tome, unless it's just them being like more hasty in the way that they decide them? I
They
don't
tend
know.
to be very simple. They tend to be very simple, and they tend to be, they don't tend to be that strong, frankly. Like, and it's safer because, and it really is a better way to learn an edition. And the reason that we go back to index is so many. Like, you can't, like, let's say, let's like the old Skaven rule for the old allegiance ability in AOS 2 was for every 10 models in a unit, you get an extra inch on your attack range, right? So then if like, let's say they had that and then they went to like, well, you get to fight too deep, that allegiance ability doesn't mean anything. And it's also a lot more convoluted and complicated than it needs to be. So, you know, for Skaven, like it'll probably just be like something like, you know, like, because Skaven have a lot of allegiance abilities right now, so it'd probably be like, you know, like you get an extra 1 bravery for every 10 models in the unit, and you know you can get, you know, get warpstone tokens and just like a couple of little things. But yeah, it tends to be very simple. Yeah.
Yeah. Which actually, I have a sneaking suspicion, and this is a prediction for 4th edition, that Destruction are actually going to be the kings of the index. And the reason for that is because their rules are already relatively simple, so they translate well into an index edition, and what makes them powerful isn't really going to change. So I
That'll
could see
probably
them
depend
being
on their war scroll, maybe.
sure, but
Yeah.
if they're focusing on simple and they're not really adding a lot of complexity, that kind of makes it so that these like very complex armies like Seraphon, Tzeentch, Soulblight to an
Skaven.
extent, Skaven,
Yeah.
aren't really going to have the things that kind of drive them right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Slanesh.
And Slanesh, yeah, and Destruction armies are just like, I want to just slap. Let's
Yeah,
go.
that's
Like,
so true. Yeah, I like that idea. I kind of hope you're right in a way. Everything does kind of become vanilla. Yeah. But yeah, they got added. Well, allegiance abilities, it depends on how you describe them, my balls. Because like before GHB1, we had like the Seraphon, the very first battle tome in AOS 1. And that had like some of the things that we now think of as allegiance abilities. And actually, or wait, did the Sylvaneth book? It doesn't matter. This is not a history thing, but yeah, it'll probably be at the end of the day very simple. I lost like what was I it devolves into you yelling chairs and falling over. Like I have no idea what was going on earlier. Clearly, I'm sorry I missed that.
So PP was saying, in response to me being muted during the entire old world stream,
Yeah.
he was saying that I can just cheers with whiskey every 10 minutes on the dot. And then I said, as long as it devolves into me saying chairs and then falling over, then we're good.
Well, I mean, yeah, that sounds amazing. I love it.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Which, to be fair, I'm almost done with this bottle. It wasn't. It was like not that high.
Can
it was
you
like
buy
maybe
that
a quarter
locally?
full. Yeah, you can buy it locally. It's actually not too expensive, and it's very good.
Most of the Japanese
I'd recommend
whiskeys tend
it.
to be quite expensive, so that's good to hear.
Most what? Sorry.
Most of the Japanese whiskeys tend to be a little bit on the expensive side. So
I think it's in the $60 to $80 range ish.
that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
That's cheaper than like the normally the cheapest stuff like Suntory and anyway.
Yeah.
This is not a whiskey show.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I'm gonna look out for it. That's the Shinobu, right?
You can Shinobu. Yeah, you can easily find it in the Park Royal one.
Oh, okay. Dope.
They've got a really good selection.
We are on the West Coast, Kyle. We are in the Vancouver area. Okay, so I lost the plot here again. Once again. Yeah, that's interesting. Ludivicus says, I've never, like, I wanted to point that out. I've never met a top level tournament player that wasn't at least part spike. You need the drive and commitment to get there. That's typically a spike trait. That's a really good point. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some people that I run into that I kind of see that in them, where it's just like I see them and I'm like, you're an extremely good player, and I recognize that in you.
Yeah.
But there's just too much takeover of the Timmy for them to be a 5-0 player.
Right.
And that's not a bad thing. Like they're having fun with what they like to play with. But that's probably like the one barrier between them being a 3-2 to 4-1 and then a 5-0 player, I think.
Well, as the great Qui-Gon Jinn said, your focus determines your reality, right? It's the reason why Canada's the best at hockey, even though we have a population 1/10 the size of most of the other major hockey nations that play the game. Like it's the reason why like Norway does so well in like cross country skiing and stuff like that. And like, because even if other countries have more people, like for example, China has more people that play soccer probably than anywhere in the world by a long shot. But it's not like, you know what I mean? It's not what they do. It's not a focus of their country. And so like if winning is your primary focus, you're going to sacrifice making a big Timmy play or playing some kind of weird list that most other people don't really care about to win. And therefore you're probably going to do better. So that makes total sense. And I completely agree with what Ludivicus was saying, Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, 100%.
Here's actually a question for you, Carson. Because like you've been playing ogres this whole time. Obviously, ogres is your favorite army, right? But what are you going to do if ogres are crap in AoS 4?
Be sad.
But like,
I don't know.
That's
one of my worries actually, is because I'm one of the few people that has been blessed with an early golden ticket. So I don't have to earn my way to the World Championships with a recent, like up-to-date army.
Yep.
So that's one of my fears, is that like AoS 4 is going to come out and then a couple things are going to happen and everything that I have access to is just going to be awful. And I'm going to show up and just get smoked, which would kind of be unfortunate.
Like, so I've actually been thinking about this though since before. Like, I didn't come up with this now. Like, I actually kind of wanted to ask you this before. So, like, what would you do then? So, like, let's say ogres are the bottom of the barrel. Like, you don't have a hope in hell, right? And I mean, honestly, I actually don't see that happening in an index, etc. But like, for the sake of argument, let's say ogres are the worst army in the game, and Slaves to Darkness are like a 40 to 45% win rate army. Would you consider picking up a new army that you have interest in that's good? Or would you just try to make ogres or slaves work? Or what would be your, what's your, like, how would you lean?
I'd spend at least a few months trying to make something work with the armies that I play.
So with
And
either,
certainly,
like, which one would you tend to like? Would you really try and make ogres work?
ogres,
Yeah.
100%.
I
Yeah.
see.
So, and one thing that I can bring up is that Skaven is like a 40% win rate army or something crazy like that right now, right?
Yep. Well, no,
But they're a
right,
top level
right now they're like 50% for the first
Sure.
time ever.
But
yeah.
But as we know, someone can take that army and still elevate it to a positive win rate.
Yep.
I would be happy taking an absolute bottom of the barrel army and going 3-2 with it. Yep. That's fine with me. So I would really be.
But what if you were starting to like let's say you do your best with ogres, right? And you're kind of you're doing like 1 and 4, like 2 and 3, right? What would be your next move?
I'd be surprised. Okay, so barring any sense of reality, like my first response is I don't think that's going to happen.
Cool.
I think they're going to be at least like salvageable.
Yes, you're probably right. But like, this is a what if, hypothetical.
I mean, of course, I'm going to be focusing on an army that I feel like I have a better chance with. If I'm going to like win a tournament or something like that, like if I'm attending a tournament with the intention to win, of course I'm going to try and find something that actually works.
Okay.
My next step would be Slaves to Darkness, and then if it just so happens that both are terrible, I don't know. It would take a lot of convincing for me to borrow an entire army of someone else's.
You don't have to
just
borrow
because it takes me an extremely long time to paint stuff, right? I don't even have 2,000 points of Slaves to Darkness painted.
No.
I could get kicked into gear and get them painted, but I currently don't. So it would definitely be like I would try to make ogres work the best I can. If it truly is like a 0-5 army, try to make Slaves to Darkness work a little bit. If that's truly a 0-5 army, also somehow.
Or 1 and 4, 2 and 3, let's say.
Sure. I guess I would try, if I was going to like a super crazy competitive tournament like WCW, I might bring a borrowed army.
What would you borrow?
But if I'm going, what would I borrow? It depends on what's good.
I see. So if you're going to borrow it, you might as well. Okay, I'm going to ask my real question then.
Okay, what's the real question? Yeah.
After Slaves to Darkness, what's the army that you're most interested in? Buying, collecting, painting. By the way, while you're thinking about that, Kiki says, "You go down with that ship," and he yells it in all caps, and then just sends us a steak emote. We don't disagree with that. But by the way, Kiki, you should have said, I'm just going to correct you. I know it was a mistake. You meant to say, "You go down with that meat ship," right? I know that's what he meant to say.
Yeah. I'd probably pick either Cities of Sigmar or Skaven, I think.
Cities of Sigmar.
One of those two.
Or Skaven. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Those are both great choices, actually. They're kind of weirdly similar in a way.
They are weirdly similar, yeah. And the reasons are, I've always admired kind of both aesthetically and lore-wise. And I feel like they're a drastic enough change from the armies that I currently play that it'd be like a vacation, essentially. It wouldn't be me just being like, I'm picking the better destruction army. Like I would almost never play Gits or Sons of Behemoth or something like that, just because it's too similar to ogres, I guess. They're a destruction army, they're very aggro. I don't think I would do that. So
you could put like love into those armies.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Skaven, when you said Skaven, right? Do you know what my first thought was?
What?
I don't care what people say about you. You're all right.
Yeah. What do people say about me?
Oh, I wasn't supposed to say. Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry. That was what I was thinking, Carson. So don't you worry about it.
Okay.
I'm joking, of course. People say way too nice things about you and then you lose. So you can't have it both ways, kiddo. Right?
Yep, that's true.
Whatever that means. So Kyle says, what damned legion does Carson play?
I've got a list that I've kind of been cooking up for Slaves Darkness that could be kind of fun to run, but it's going to change by the time I have it painted, so it doesn't really matter. It's Kabbalists, I think, is like an interesting way to go.
Yep.
It just makes all of your characters wizards, which is really cool, and then it makes anyone that is a wizard have an extra cast. And then it makes it so that you can just put all of your wizards in a big circle, and they can just all cast on 3d6, which I think is super valuable. And it's going to become more valuable when Primal Dice go away. So that's probably my Legion of choice.
That would be fun. Attaboy, he says. Play the Humies, embrace the squishables. You go down with that tip. Man, these comments are hilarious. Alex says you can borrow one of his armies in exchange for having physical space at your house to store them. I don't know if you'll be willing to make that deal, but maybe you will.
I got a storage unit.
Oh, there. Oh, no. Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't.
I have both a storage unit in my building,
yeah,
and I rent out a storage unit as well. So, sure, why not?
Damn. It does not come with insurance. That's when Carson leans on his friends for some loaners until he can paint up something of his own. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day... Oh, by the way, I meant to highlight, Mabal said ogres can be bad, but Bone Squitter is going to be squatted. He just means they're going to be smaller like dwarves, like squats.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't agree with that. I think
Bone Splitters are going. Maybe that's
they're going away.
Maybe he didn't get rid of them. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because they're probably going to go over to the old world, maybe. And yeah. I don't really have a bone in that fight, so I won't comment. But yeah, I don't think they do fall hard either. Beefy ogres. This is all very hypothetical. Like, you are known as the meat man, so I think it would take a lot for you to overcome it. But I just like selfishly want you to play more armies and paint more armies. So, and bring them on the channel. He has, by the way, Kyle, he has played, we did play a game of his Slaves to Darkness for the Slow Grow Saga of Glory thing that we're doing. So we're going to be filming more of those soon, but the camera's been broken for so long, so they're on the way. This car's going to borrow an Alex army. Would it be IJ or IJ, or maybe even IJ? Well, the thing is, though, is that might be the one army that Alex won't loan Carson, because even though Alex talks about IJ and how bad they are and all this other stuff all the time, I don't see him letting them actually get out of his physical sight. Right? Like, I don't...
I've got a hot take as well.
Okay.
I think that Alex would not be able to handle me doing well with IJ. That's a true hot take, and I'm sorry for saying that, Alex. And I'm not saying it would happen, but on the off chance, like the 5% chance that it did actually happen, it would
Alex,
destroy him.
that Alex rolled into the worst dimension. He has enough IJ for both of us. Oh man, oh my god, that's so funny, man. You know what sucks is like,
one more thing. Sorry. Alternatively, he wouldn't lend them to me in fear that I would use them in Big Wa instead of IJ.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that second part is definitely true. You have 3 cabbages. You could have more. So a Carson versus Alex battle report. IJ versus IJ. That would be rad.
That'd be pretty cool.
Or like, what if you took just Iron Jaws, pure Iron Jaws, but took them in Big Wa? Basically what Andy likes to do. Only BS will jump ship to Old World. Blown Spitters. Yeah, right on. I was like, bull. Nope. It makes you dislike it more and more. Wait, Bone Splitters? You dislike Bone Splitters more and more, or you dislike the Old World more and more? I see your 3 cabbages and I raise you 4 turtles. That's the kind of thing I would do for sure. It's just so expensive, and those models are such a pain in the butt to paint. But I would like to like borrow some or do something else that I need. Maybe me and Hillary could do it.
You just
together.
show up at the battle report and say, "I like turtles."
Exactly. I'm just gonna be singing the Ninja Turtles theme the whole time.
Oh, that too. That's a
and
better
then
version.
getting claims constantly.
Go ninja, go ninja, go.
Yeah, do the Vanilla Ice thing. Go. Yeah. Ninja rap. Do every version of them. I mean, like I've been encouraging James because he has, I believe he's taken 3 turtles to tournament before for IDK. And so I've been trying to get him to do 4 turtles and then take a Skaven Deathmaster as a Soul Scryer. But he won't do it for some reason. I don't know what his problem is. How many do you need? How many turtles do I need? I need 3 turtles. Like I've got 1 turtle, but it's such an expensive kit. And I really went nuts with my paint job. Like my skill has gotten better since then, but like I was very intricately painted every like piece of the shell, individually. Like there was no dry brushing anyway. But I would like to, I actually thought about taking another shot at the turtle and doing the shell using oil paints and just really getting intricate with it. But yeah. You're going to call me. Damn it, Keith. Wrong franchise. Well, okay. It's smart, Litivicus. You can mention it when she's on vacation or something, or out with her friends on another night. Yeah, my wife knows how much Skaven I have, and she's just like, ugh, like I gave up on you years ago. So.
Lost cause.
Yeah, exactly. And soon to be
at this point,
more.
your basement is like the Nuln sewers. She's just like, that's where they live now. It's just too much to deal with, and there's just Skaven in the basement. That's how we. Yeah.
Before we moved into where we live now, we were in an apartment, and after my dad had passed, we inherited all this stuff, right? And I was describing it to Jason, a friend of ours, right? And at one point, I was just like, when we moved in here, we had way more space. And so I was just describing, I was like, oh man, this feels so amazing just to not be surrounded by boxes and random stuff. And Jason was like, yeah, from the way you were describing it, it sounded like you were living in Skaven Blight. And I was like, why didn't I think of that? It was like I was like just disappointed in myself that I wasn't the one to come up with that with coining that term. But yeah. If we're talking collections, I'm simmering down my 15 of two. Wow. 8+ K of dwarfs. My God. In 4th, you got 40 boar boys, and square bases are gross. Square bases are cool, like in the old world, but yeah, they don't really suit super well on. I agree with what Mabal said though, for sure, is that, where was it? The Cav unit. Yeah, it was Mabal's. So he said, crew was better get a Cav unit. Like, you know what's crazy is like, I was reading those short stories and different things like that. And it's like, we were like, oh, we're definitely getting some kind of vulture cavalry for crew boys. Like, obviously, and then here we are this much farther, still no turkey vulture Cav units, but maybe one time, maybe soon. Oh, thanks for joining us, Kyle. Appreciate having you. Welcome to this, welcome as usual, or welcome to our podcast. I don't know, that sentence went awry. We're actually gonna be calling it pretty quick here, but yeah, thanks to everyone for hanging out. Is there anything you wanted to mention, Carson, before we go?
pretty much just reiterating on the AoS All-Stars. You can see the dates there.
Yep.
Those are going to be live streams, so stay tuned for when those are actually going to be daytime wise.
Yep.
We'll announce that closer to the dates. And then also reiterating, Wet Coast is almost sold out, so if you want a ticket, go ahead and buy that now. And yeah, anything else from you?
We'll definitely do like a Wet Coast. We'll do more about Wet Coast as we get closer. And if you made it this far, hey, why not give it a like? You clearly are one of the chosen ones that we really love and appreciate. I should say this at the start of the stream, and I never remember. Like when we have more people watching and before even the people who watch it later. But like, man, if you made it this far and you're not subscribed, come on, yo. Throw us that subscription, throw us a like, tell us what we did wrong, tell us how dumb we are. I don't care. But yeah, thanks to everyone for hanging out. You guys were hilarious as usual. Love having you here. And yeah, more stuff on the way. And yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks again. Bye-bye.